we go. How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Wednesday Chat. My name is Craig. This is live with Reefer Madness, and we'll see where the day takes us today, huh? Imagine we'll get a few people in here today. Wednesday's kind of a boring ass day, I guess. So let's see where we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the people that are just popping into chat. Hope you're having a good day. Not exactly sure what we're going to talk about today, but we're going to get on to stuff. We always seem to. That's funny. Hey, what's going on, Rob? How you doing today, sir? My links are going up. I'm finally starting to get some people coming in. Oh, there you go. Can't beat that, man. Everybody likes that last hour of work, huh? Usually makes things easier, too. That last hour, whistle while you work kind of deal, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes that's the one that crawls by, though. There we go. Nope, my tanks are up and humming. Everything's going pretty well. Pretty happy with things as they go. Get a few folks in. We'll get our chat on. So I don't know if you guys... Well, I'm going to wait for a few more people. I got some news from jolly old Canada, of all places. That is reefing related. So...
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Tristan? How you doing, buddy?
I'm hanging in there, just working for the man.
Yeah, I hear ya. I'm not currently, but will be again at some point, I'm sure. You know, which I'm sure will change the live with Reefer Madness thing, but not that much, really. I only usually stream somewhere between 4 to 8. I don't normally like to go past 8 ever.
Okay.
I have done it, but you know.
What time zone are you on? Reefer?
I'm Atlantic, so Eastern. I'm 1 hour ahead of Eastern. So if you're on the East Coast of the States, I'm an hour ahead, right? So.
All right, I'm on the East Coast too. What part of the East Coast?
I'm in Canada, New Brunswick, Canada, right next to Maine.
Oh, Canada.
Yeah, Canada. Hey, Tim. Yeah, I'll get you a link in a moment here, Tim.
I'm in North Carolina.
Oh, there you go. Nothing wrong with North Carolina. And let's see
Love
here.
Canada, man. Went to Montreal for really awesome bachelor party. Ate an amazing steak. It was fantastic.
Canada's got its moments. Yep. We do.
I tried a couple of different beers and ended up drinking a lot of hard alcohol instead. I just couldn't get into the Canadian beers, though.
Yeah, it's a little stronger. Hey, what's going on, Rob? Yeah. Wow, I have a ton of windows open today. I guess that's probably because I'm trying to get a new place. There we go. All right. So I'm going to send off a link to Tim. We'll get him in here too. He wants to come in. So yeah, don't know if you guys know, but a idiot in Quebec, Gatineau, which is technically, some people would call that Ottawa, poisoned himself and his family again. Anybody want to take a guess what they did?
Cooked live rock.
No, he actually did the idiot move. He was moving a tank, and I think he let a... Yeah, he let some pallies dry out. Just a dumb
Can you hear
bell
me?
end. Yeah, I can hear you. Your mic sounds like it's rubbing up against your something though. Yeah. I'm gonna guess it's the wind. Yeah, it's the wind noise. Yeah. There you go. A little better. How you doing, Jeff? Hey, Metals. How you guys all doing?
Reefer, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Can you hear us? He's not hearing us.
I think his signal might be a little. Yeah, pallies are, one of those corals that they can be beautiful. I've seen some really beautiful pallies, but at the same time, I just don't know, given the various different risks and stuff, if I want them in my tank. I mean, I have kids. I have kids that like to hang out around my tank,
Yep.
and I'll be quite honest with you. I am not the best at like putting away all of my tools and stuff, especially when I'm fragging or building something
Yep.
or messing around the tank. So for that purpose, I tend to not want anything that can go airborne or take anybody out or anything like that. So I tend to stay away from them. But I definitely will admire it in somebody else's tank or even at like
Hmm.
a show or something like that. But I don't know if it's worth the risk for me personally. So I kind of stay away from them, and it's sort of kind of why, to some degree, I stayed away from zoanthids for quite a bit.
Yep.
Every time I mess with any types of zoanthids, whether I'm moving them around or fragging them or even picking them up and putting them on a rock, I tend to just wash everything right after with scalding hot
Holy
water
cow.
to make sure I be safe.
Yeah, Paul.
Got the email first.
Yeah,
Got
there
the
we go.
email first, but
Yeah, give me good. That's good. Paul, who's low? Is it the guys that are in chat that are low? Or in the hangout, I should say, with me? Because they shouldn't be doing that, but I got the gain turned up, but...
so Craig, I gotta ask you, what
Yeah.
the hell happened last night, man?
Oh, I don't know. I crashed, and then it went nuts, and yeah, it was some weird thing, but, oh, I see what's going on there. So I'm going to turn Tristan up. So what's going on, Paul? Well, who can't you hear?
No, I can hear. It's your audio.
Oh, is mine rate low today?
No, it's not low. It's got like a humming noise to it, like a constant humming noise.
Oh,
go onto YouTube, put your audio down, and have a look.
Yeah.
You can't. Your audio needs to be on. You need to go into another room and listen to it.
There we go. Did it just go
You're
away?
getting like a humming noise. It's like a boom, and then it stops. You talk, and then you can hear it. It's like constant. It's on and off constantly.
It's my air purifier. I just shut it off.
It's like you can hear it. It's like a constant noise, humming noise that you can hear.
Yeah, so those that are in the chat listening in, if you can still hear it, let me know, but I just stopped that, so I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Well, that's good. Okay, I'm not going to mess around too much.
That'll be the noise cancelling that you've got. Like, if I stop speaking, my phone's got noise cancelling. You'll hear it on here. It's not good.
There we go. All right. Let's say my noise gate. No, noise gate's there. Maybe I'll turn my noise gate up.
We've got a storm here at the minute, so can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear the rain. The rain.
I'll just mute myself. Right?
So yeah, we just had a Canadian pull a Oxfordshire idiot move. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you say that. We just had one, haven't we?
Yeah,
ago.
Not that long ago, and now we just got a guy that just did the dumbassery. I don't know what I'm doing.
We always have them because they're full of bellends over here. That's what it is.
Well, you get these guys, and it's like, how can you, and they didn't ask what's in the tank. They saw it, they bought it. This guy bought it from a business that had it for 4 years with no issues. And then when he moved it, they don't talk about what he did for the move, right? Of course, it's just the end result. And of course, they say Zoantha, it's wrong, it's Pallies, yada, yada, yada. So everybody they went to said, no, this is not common. No, 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 no. But, news trying to make news out of it, right? So, whatever. It's like, you can find it on cbc.ca. It's there. It made national news. Of course it did. Yeah, you're muted there, Paul, just in case you didn't know. So, I don't know why you're muted, but you're muted. Is that hum gone? I should
No,
ask that.
I know I'm muted. I'm just really loud because of the rain.
Ah, that's okay. That's fine. Actually, that's not as bad as poor Rob standing on the dock in Italy. It's like a little too windy there, buddy. Yeah. So how's everybody doing? Doing good? Any new news besides that idiot in Gatineau? Yeah.
I know nothing.
No, there's nothing to talk about. We're done.
Yeah, cruising. He was getting ready to go, and then all of a sudden, boom!
I
It's
got
just
some
me
news
and
for you.
Chris.
Worldwide
It's
shortage
just me
of
and
live
Cruz
rock.
in the hangout. That's it.
There's a worldwide shortage of live rock.
No, I
Really?
wouldn't say totally worldwide, but basically, since the Fiji ban had went into effect and subsequently been lifted, a lot of live rock suppliers, especially in the States, are out about almost 6 to 8 weeks from getting live rock back in. So you're seeing a lot of places like BRS, Premium Saltwater, Fish.com,
Right.
US based places showing out of stock on live rock. Really,
Hmm.
some of the most available stuff are some dry rock, out of Florida. But any of the other, fancy stuff, including things like Pukani, funny
Hmm.
enough, Pukani rock, even though it's been dried out, it hasn't actually been dead for so long that it's like calcified
Right. Yeah.
like the live stuff. So you'd be surprised at how live it was just, a couple of weeks or, months before it got dried out.
Hmm.
So a lot of that stuff comes from overseas by shipping in pallet containers. So those things take a couple of weeks to, get across the
Well,
ocean.
exactly. Well, that's why with Pukani and any of the live rock ones, it's always better to cure that rock, like re-cure,
Hmm.
because there's always a certain amount of die-off, right? It's like Zoas, and to a lesser extent Pallies, when they're shipped in wet newspaper. They're not in water. I don't, that's where a lot of people don't understand. That's why they can take a butt ton of abuse, and fly through it with colors. If you've got a Zoa frag with a bunch of algae on it, take it out of your tank, right? Pick away what you can carefully. Wear gloves, take your safety precautions. You are messing with a Pally or a Zoa, and then spray it with 3% hydrogen peroxide directly on it. Let it sit. Rinse it off in fresh salt water and put it back. It'll get rid of the algae that's pestering that Zoa. You know what I mean? And it can handle it. No problem. I accidentally left one out one time. I think it was about 4 hours. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, well, rinse it off, put it in the tank and see what happens. And guess what? Still in my tank. Still there. So it just goes, as long as it doesn't completely dry out, it usually stays live to some degree. Rock, on the other hand, tends to get die off very quickly. It only takes a few hours of drying out. So that's why I always tell everybody, live rock, I'd still re-cure it. That's just me. Just to be safe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And seeing where the rock comes from after being in the hobby for a while,
Yep.
you kind of start understanding exactly what you're dealing with in terms of bacteria, and what's going to live for how long, where. So, yeah, absolutely. I can definitely see why live rock would die out a lot faster than corals. I mean, I've left SPS that I cut, and I cut it, fragged it, I put it on glue, and then I left it by mistake right above the tank on a little frag rack that it was drying on before going back into the frag tank. And it must have been for 3 or 4 hours. And I went back over there, as I do right before I go to bed every night, just to do a quick check on the tank. And I saw it, and I was like, oh man, this is dead.
Yep.
But I just tossed it in the tank. Next morning I came out, thing was polyps all out,
Yep.
waving at me, and I went, wow, you guys are a lot more resilient than I thought.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. You know what did it for me was Than, when he was over in Okinawa, walking around on the reef that was exposed to the bright sunlight, right? And
Hmm.
his amazement at it, and then you start thinking about it, and you're like, you know what? That starts to make sense. It makes sense that all of a sudden here it is. I've got this thing that's used to sitting out, and most tides are out for 8-9 hours. So it's used to sitting there in the baking sun, protecting itself, waiting for the tide to come back in. So, and that's not all coral, but that's a lot of coral can actually handle that quite well. So, No, I wouldn't say. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's why I stopped, going so crazy with trying to make sure I plant my corals so they don't get exposed to air for the couple of seconds that it takes for you to drain and refill during a water change or something like that. I mean, I tend to do it from my from my sump for most of my water changes, but every so often I'll siphon out the top of the tank. And some SPS will, get some of their tips exposed and stuff like that. But they've been great. They've handled it like champions.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's it. That's exactly it. You'll get to know, right? That's where the research part comes in. Did anybody watch Fisher Hex's latest video? And he was talking about the best top 10 ways he's got for success in the hobby kind of deal, and what he's talking about. And he's exactly right, is that you got to go out and do your research. Don't just take it from one source. Don't just come to us and expect to get the answer. You'll get one, and then start shopping that answer around, or shopping what you're still looking for around, to the forums, to other streams, to other videos, so that you get a better understanding of what you're actually dealing with. Whatever that may be, whether it's dealing with, I left my coral out all night, is it dead? Well, you can probably figure that out for yourself, put it in the tank, give it a few hours. If it starts to peak out, no, it's not. Hopefully it bounces right back for you. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. That kind of thing, so.
And I've always told people don't give up too quickly on coral. I mean, I've had a frag before. It was a deep water frag,
Mm-hmm.
and it started STNing for whatever reason.
Yep.
And I had fragged it. I fragged off the parts that were STNing, and I replugged it, and it kept STNing. I just left it the hell alone. And I came back, must have been, I don't know. I started looking at it intently after about 2 weeks, and I saw that it had green tips. And wouldn't you know it, that one little green tip must have been, you know, this, I want to say this, the less than the size of the head of a Q-tip. Wouldn't you know that grew back into like a 3-inch frag inside of like 4 months? And the base was still STN, but it started growing just from that, like probably single polyp that survived
Wow.
the STN event. And I was like, wow, and ordinarily I would have plucked that off and just tossed it in my sump, but it was just sheer laziness that I just left it alone and didn't, pop it off of the off the
plug.
rock and throw it
Yeah.
in my sump.
Right.
Came back, I was like, wow. And same thing with plate corals. I had a plate coral um that went like dang near completely white, and I thought it looked nice. It was decoration for the sand bed, so I just left it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And it came back. It came back with a bunch of little babies and stuff all over that single plate coral, and I said, "Wow, this
Yep.
thing is, rock solid." I was pretty amazed by that, and that's why a lot of people I think said, don't really toss plate corals away.
Nope.
Just kind of leave them alone. Stick them in a part of the tank where it's less of an eyesore. If you
Yep.
consider it an eyesore, and see if let it do its thing.
I have one in mind. My the top right corner on my screen is my 120, and there's a plate in there, and I'm pretty sure it's done. But I left it in there because there's always a chance that it'll propagate itself, right? You'll end up with 2 or 3 of them, and if they grow, I mean, we all know plates aren't cheap, right? Now they're open brains, and don't just give up on it, right? Like give it a chance to do something. And if your parameters are right and your tank's healthy, you might get lucky and end up with 4 or 5 of them. Right, and grow them out, and if you grow them out, you can sell them off to your friends or whoever, and there you go, and you get yours back, so to speak, right? Yeah, no. So on metals, yeah, the whole thing with pallies, a lot of people, it's hard to tell the difference. Taxonomy on zoas and pallies is a little tough. Usually with pallies, you can see the oh god, I forget the name of it, but you can almost see the we'll call it crystalline, but the rocks in the actual stalk and the actual polyp itself, you can see it. That's a generalization of what a pally is, and most people, we know what pallies are. If you look in my tank, I got that big thing of blue-green velvets. Those guys slick up like you wouldn't believe. If I go in and grab them, take them out, it is all handled with gloves. I don't touch those guys without it. My cats are around, I stop, cats are moved out of the way, get out of here. everything's in, containers. I don't, if I drip, the wife's right behind me, picking up the drips, because I know those guys are, I don't know how toxic they are, but I don't want to find out. Now, as far as the dried one, and this is the mistake that I hear of most of the time, is they either boil the rock like an idiot, which is not a real thing. I don't know why people think that's a thing. It's extremely dangerous to do. Or put it in their oven is the other one I've heard of, and try to cook the rock, and they don't understand. And I think Mark Levinson there, Loves Reef, he did a thing on it that he was talking about cooking the rock, and he tried to explain it, and you could almost see it's like, I shouldn't have said that, because people do misinterpret what that means. It means we're curing the rock. You're putting it in a bin, letting it recure. So with pallies, I have actually seen it where it's outside, it's been pressure washed, scraped, let to dry, and the guy actually had somebody from the University of New Brunswick come and scrape the rock and still found palitoxin on the rocks. It was still there. So I don't mess around with them. I take great care, and I tell people, if you're going to have pallies in your tank, try to keep them separated from your main rock display, because that rock is going to need to be handled almost like hazardous material. Well, just it's going to have to be handled that way. So there you go. Whoop. Information that you probably don't need if you're not going to mess with them, but it's a good idea to know it, right? So so you haven't messed around with them at all, eh, Tristan? And hey, Javes, what's going on, brother?
What's happening, fellas?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so I've had them before, and I've always known what the dangers they were, because, you know, the way I like to think about it is that the more this hobby becomes, I want to call it mainstream with a loose term, but the easier it is for people to get into this hobby, the more you're going to find people who are not knowledgeable making mistakes that some of us already know to not do. And I think that's why you're probably seeing a rise in a lot of these issues that people are having in terms of, like, getting palitoxin and all this other stuff. So, so I've always known about them, but I've always chosen not to expose or even introduce myself to it, because it's just not worth the risk. I mean, I don't think that they're particularly beautiful, but I have seen some that made me say, Tristan, you really should try out some pallies, because LA
Yeah.
Lakers pallies look gorgeous.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They look beautiful, especially under some actinic lights. So I always think to myself, like, yeah, I want to try them out, but do I want to take the risk? No. I mean, I got a 5-year-old that thinks licking the salt on my tank is fun. I don't want him to lick some palitoxin and check out. So it's not worth it for me.
Yeah, you don't want to be the one that died from it that made the news. You know what I mean? Like, sick is sick. Yeah, that can happen. There's a ton of stuff in our tanks that actually can do that to us. One that people don't know, the slime coat on Mandarin Dragonettes is extremely toxic. Were you guys aware of that?
Never knew that.
Right? So it's almost considered a venom. Its toxicity is so high. So I didn't know that, and then come to find out, a friend of mine's died in his tank, and his whole tank went gone. What happened? We went through the things, and through research, I just kind of bumped into and found out they're toxic. Their slime coat, if it was sick, and it's building up its slime coat in its defense, it actually creates an excessive amount, and he wasn't running carbon, so of course when it leached, for lack of a better term, bang, it nuked his 20-gallon tank. Now, I imagine in a bigger tank, I don't think it's that bad, but do I want to find out? No. So I'm always really on my Dragonettes to keep an eye on. The Mandarin for sure. I have not found out about if the Scooter Dragonettes and the other ones do that too, because I don't think so. I've had one die in my tank and there was nothing happen. But Mandarins, there you go. Hey, Reef, how you doing today, buddy? Look at that, I'm starting to go Canadian, buddy. Hey, buddy. Yeah. So did you buy any crack, Jeeves? And that's our code word for coral, because I know you was looking. No, you get
I stopped yesterday. No.
There you go. Good man.
I just got the little glass tubes for my Hannah checkers and bailed.
Yeah, that's the hard part, ain't it? just going in and just, no, I'm not going to do that. No, yeah. I'm going to turn you down just a smooch. There we go. But no, it's like, that part of the hobby, the dangerous stuff, like Steve Rodder there, he got an MRSA infection, a staph infection, after he cut his hand on a rock and it was in his tank. And it's like, people don't consider that one, right? How often do you stick your hand in the tank, to do something, not realizing, and I'm diabetic, I should know better. I have gotten a couple of little infections from handling my rock and having a cut that then, boom, I got a little infection there. So my doctor kind of really does get on my case about how I deal with my tank. And I generally wear nitrile gloves for sure. They're not going to help me from a puncture, but they will help me from like tearing my finger or doing something foolish or getting under my nail. But, I always tell everybody, play safe with your tank. Realize that it is salt water. It is the same as you dealing and diving in salt water. So, go ahead. You were going to say something, Jeeves, or are you just breathing, buddy?
Oh, just sniffling there.
Sniffling? You got a cold, son?
I just woke up all stopped up this morning.
Oh, I hear that. Nobody likes that. Early morning sucks anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So how's everybody doing in chat? I'm having a look there, making sure I don't miss anybody. Hey, K Reef, welcome in. Metals, we've already been talking anyway. And hey, I Reef once more. How are you guys doing? What do you got? Any questions? Any thoughts? Anybody read that CBC.ca article about dumbass in Gatineau, Quebec, poisoning himself and his family? Yeah.
I haven't read the article, but when you asked, using your code word, did you buy any crack? I just thought it was really funny because, a lot of times when I'm out and about and I'm considering purchasing something, whether it be electronics or a pair of jeans,
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes equate the item that I'm purchasing to what a coral frag would be. And if I have no problem spending $50 on a coral frag, I have no problem spending $50 on like trinkets from Amazon Prime just because it had free shipping and it looks cool or the thing is cool.
Yep.
You know, so I've been attributing coral frag prices to other things in life, and it's a weird type of currency to be thinking about sometimes.
Oh, it so
That's
is.
funny.
Yeah, we all do that. I have literally seen myself saying, I can buy this, or I can go to the LFS and I can go get a coral, or I can get another fish, or I can buy that piece of equipment. And it's like, wow, how all-consuming is this hobby? And it's pretty consuming. Like I told one guy, was getting in, I said, it isn't the initial that's going to get you. That's expensive. It's the ongoing, ooh, ooh, ooh. It's like a magpie. I gotta have it. It's new and it's shiny. Some people control that better than others. Impulse buying, right? I'm pretty good at it, but it's tough, man. I've seen me looking at what's that new Coral Box Aqualink, and it's their new controller, I think. And there's very little info. I'm going to wait, till my decision, or till more info comes out to make a decision on that piece of equipment. But it's like, ooh, I want that. And I don't really need a controller. I always joke I am the Apex. I do the testing. I do the, make sure the temperature is right. I look at my tank every day. But it is nice to have something that's doing it 24 hours a day for you. That part of it I get with Apex. I totally get that. It's just, it is a really cost prohibitive item in this hobby for some people. I can, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think a lot of reefers at some point they they feign ignorance at what their reef really costs them, and certain things just become a fact of life, myself included. Like I look at the equipment that I have, I look at the corals that I purchased and when I purchased them and how much some of them cost. And other than thinking to myself, okay, make sure I can cover this coral purchase here and everything's going to be all right, it just goes out of mind. I just stopped caring about it. Like I stopped looking at how much it costs. And I think a lot of new reefers who are getting into the hobby, they do, like you said, look at that first initial purchase, the sticker price, and then that's the value that they have in their mind.
Yep.
But then when they go out there and they start collecting corals and growing them out and trading and selling and buying, they just say, you know what, I'm just gonna remain ignorant to how much things cost now, and it can be dangerous for some people. I've known guys who kind of ruined themselves a little bit financially by doing too much too soon because they needed to have the best or wanted to have the best or jumped in so head first and had some failure. So I always encourage people when you're joining, start slow. Make sure you really like the hobby before you go out there and buy top-notch equipment, or else, you might find yourself in a position where the thing that you want to sell isn't easy to sell because you can't jump on eBay and sell it. And you can jump on eBay and sell it, but it'll take a little bit longer than say an iPhone. It's not everybody out there is looking for live rock, coral frags, or MP40. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's you gotta patience is everything, right? We scream about patience in the hobby, but you're absolutely right. If you get that new tank, even if you want to jumpstart the tank, so you want to do kind of what I did with the 20 here in the background, and just you're up, you're running in one day. Now that's rock and a couple of fish. I'm not saying corals and everything else. I took my time adding my corals and waited for things to be stable. Most people, they want that, and they want it right away, and they want that, that classic picture, just full of sticks, full of just packed full. And it's like, you don't get that overnight. That takes time, to get there. I haven't even technically got there. The closest I've seen would be Paul. Reef Community Worldwide is the guy I've seen his tank, that he's the closest to having that kind of very full, very lush tank. And that took him a while. He got there. Of course he did. He's got great practice. He does good work. Um, it's the patience part comes into play, and don't jump into things. Like we all want that equipment. Like I went out and got a QP5 for my tank. I had to. This tank, the main 20, the flow just wasn't enough out of the return pump. I just couldn't get it where it was doing what I needed to do without creating a humongous amount of dead spots. So, and we're not talking like one. I had 4 major dead spots. I'm like, no, can't have that. I got one now. I know exactly where it is. I know where to go get the stuff out. Blah blah blah. So, can I get rid of that? I probably could, but it would be more flow than I'm willing to put in. So, yeah.
I think it's important for people who are reefers, even experienced reefers,
Mm-hmm.
to be caretakers of the hobby. How many times I've been over to another reefer's house, perhaps with with a person who's a non-reefer, and they ask, oh, I would love to have something like this in my house. How much did all this cost you? Now, your initial response is to brag about your beautiful equipment that you have, probably very pricey equipment that you have that you've accumulated over the course of a couple of years. But at the same time, I think you should tell people you can do this on a budget, or you could do it, like I have, and go really balls to the wall. And I think you should give people realistic expectations of what it would cost to get into a reefing hobby. And I think you can probably get into the reefing hobby, a tank, rock, sand, and everything, for probably under $200 for a decent 40-gallon breeder on a dollar sale for Petco. $30 in rock, in rock or something like that. 10-20 pounds of rock maybe, and a $20 bag of salt. One of the smaller buckets.
Yeah.
So you can get in it pretty cheap, but a lot of people tend to take a very elitist approach to it, and scare people away just by the sticker price. And as a reefer, when I first went to an LFS, and I was a freshwater guy when I went to the LFS,
Mm-hmm.
and I was blown away by saltwater, and I always wanted to do it ever since I was a little kid. When my dad and I would go to the store, I would see all of these fish, and I would ask him about 50 times, "Can we put this fish?" And I'll be pointing it to a yellow tang, and our
Yep.
tank says, "No, that's saltwater, and that's an expensive fish. That's a $50 fish." And I said, "Okay, wow. So I'll go ahead and get this Jack Dempsey for $12.99 instead, and put that in my freshwater."
Mm-hmm.
But I think people need to be a caretaker of the hobby, or else you might lose out on kinships with people, or stop people around you from getting into the hobby and having other people around you that would be a benefit to you, either by teaching them what you know and they can be helpful to you in the event that you have an emergency or need somebody to watch the tank, or even just another person who gets into it, really gets into it, and then you guys start trading corals and talking reef a lot,
Mm-hmm.
making a new friendship. So I say, try not to scare people away from the hobby. Tell them that there are different spectrums, there are different levels that you can get into the hobby, but that you recommend they try it before they invest themselves too fully.
Exactly. It's I've talked reefing on a budget before, and you don't have to have the best of everything to get into the hobby. You absolutely don't. I up here in Canada, I did my 20 with the sump the way I wanted to do it for about $1,100, right, front to back, everything, every last thing I needed, right. So when I did that, I did that knowing, and that is not coral and fish. Oh no, that's including the fish, the two clowns. So since that point, almost every coral that's in this tank came out of my 120, so I didn't have to spend any more money that way. The fish, on the other hand, I probably spent another $200 on fish, maybe three. And a friend of mine's like, well, how can you afford that? I said, well, I make room in my budget for it. If you get into this hobby and just throw money at it, well, you can do that if you want. Sorry, throat getting a little dry there. So it's more, it's the expectations that become an issue, I find, for a lot of reefers, that they, especially the ones who have money and they want to throw it at it, they're looking for the lush tank, they're looking for this certain thing, and there's no patience involved. It's like you can't buy yourself into a perfect tank. You can, it will be great for a few, maybe a couple of weeks, and things will start to go south. Because if you haven't taken the time to learn how to do the hobby, I suppose you could get around it if you're willing to pay someone to come in and look after it. I guess that would be the difference, maybe. But if you can't afford to do that, you're going to wind up in trouble. Because you've learned nothing. You're starting off, dry, so to speak, as far as knowledge. This hobby will bite you in the ass pretty quick.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have been, I'll say I call myself, I've been a bad influence in about three people that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
Three good friends of mine who have all got into the hobby in some shape or form. And, to make sure that it wasn't too much on them to get in, I helped them out along the way. A lot of reefers have a lot of spare equipment all around the place. So, it was nothing for me to give them, here's two Corilla pumps, go ahead and get yourself a $20 tank from Petco. Um, you know, here's a heater, and here's a couple of pieces of live rock I had cooking in my sump that you can throw in your tank. Maybe 30, $40 worth of live rock that couldn't fit in my display. It was in my sump, it was cycled, gave it to him. And here's a bag of sand from a handful of sand from my sand bed to seed your new sand. And he got in. So I want to say he probably got in for under $100. And when he purchased his first crab and shrimp, that I like just flipped in his head and said, "Wow, this is amazing. This is so much fun. I like doing this. I like reading the forums." And he jumped headfirst in. I think now he's up to a beautiful 120 in a very small apartment in New York, but he got it up those stairs in that brownstone somehow. But he's very happy with it, and he's figured that's the size that I'm gonna have. That's the size I'm gonna stick with because it's easy to deal with. So he and I talk very often, and you know I think it was good for him to be able. I was able to do that for him, to help him make RODI water and bring it to work in 5-gallon jugs and transfer it in the parking lot like we were trading some kind of illegal
Yeah,
substance. It
exactly.
was just
Yeah.
freaking water. You
Yep.
know what I mean? In 5-gallon jugs to help him fill up his 20-gallon tank. So yeah, he has his own equipment now, but I was happy that I was able to help him get into that. But now I have a buddy that I can talk to about reefing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep. I did the same thing. I got started, and then a friend of mine at work, he got really interested, and he's the one that had the Mandarin that we figured out it was toxic. It was my Mandarin that I had sold to him. I was going to get out. I actually got to a point, I was after 9 months of dealing with ick. So my first year involved 3 months that everything was kind of great and 9 months of ick. So I didn't lose any fish to ick except, well, I shouldn't say that. I say that wrong. I lost 2 coral beauties and a 6-line to ick. And it was the copper, not the ick. Right? Because I didn't understand that you had, with certain fish, you got to ramp it up slow. Some tolerate it better than others, so on and so forth. So that info wasn't really there, and then and I learned that. So then everybody else survived ick, except for my first starry Lenny, who, when he got ick again, right? Because I only did 2 months, right? 8 weeks. They said 8 weeks. That's all it takes. Nope, I got it again. So when I got that again, I didn't see it on him, disposed to him, and then when we moved, I found ick on a. I'll be right back, guys. I just heard a really weird noise. I'll be right back, alright?
Okay. So Melanie, to answer your question, I know I put it in the chat. So my tank is completely built. I got some pictures of it built. They crated it up. AGE has crated it up already. It is sitting ready to be shipped out to me.
So I'm kind of glad I'm leaving the buildings because there's air coming up through my toilet. That's all it was. Remember I said I heard a weird noise. I hear water. I go running, right? So they're working on the pipes, and I can hear the air coming up through the pipe. So go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Go on.
No, it's fine. So the tank is built. Got pictures of the tank. Now I could have had the tank Friday this week, but we actually decided to delay the shipping of the tank until the 11th of May, the week after my birthday.
Right.
Because my stand is arriving tomorrow via freight.
Okay.
It's not built, but the materials that I need to build it or assemble it, rather, the metal structure,
right,
is pretty heavy. It's on 2 pallets, so they're shipping 2 pallets down to me, and that's arriving tomorrow, Thursday, tomorrow via freight. So I'll have to have that stand built and put in place because then I gotta go and get the plywood cut for the top, paint that, and another piece of plywood cut for the bottom of the stand for the sump to sit on. But the sump, now the sump that I'm getting is a prototype sump, right? So it's part of their new line. It's only, I think only one other one has shipped, and they determined that there was a flaw in the design that they shipped for that first sump. And when they built my sump, they didn't detect the flaw until my sump was already built. So my sump had to go back to the drawing board, and they rebuilt it. So they're in the process of doing all of the engravings on it right now, and then hopefully that will arrive to me sometime in the next, week and a half, right around the first or 2nd of May, is we're hoping to have that sump in hand. Unfortunately for me, I don't know how easy it's going to be to slide a metal stand to the right or left to allow me to slide the sump in from the side. That's going to be a little tough. So that's why I want to have the sump here before the stand gets here. Sorry, before the tank gets here, so that when it's put in place, and I don't got to move it anywhere. The other thing is the Synergy overflow. They had an extreme backlog on those 20-inch
Oh yes, yeah, the
Synergy
ghost.
overflows, and mine is 24 inches. Oof. So it's a custom job. So so the builders, the LFS that I'm working with to do all the ordering, they're reaching out to Synergy to see where that is. Yep, Melanie, I'll be filming the stand, the delivery, because basically everything is arriving via freight. None of this stuff come via UPS anymore, so I'll have 3 freight trucks at my place in the next 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, it was just. It's funny. We talk
Your
about that.
neighbors are gonna hate you.
They're gonna hate you. Yeah. What's with
I
the
live in a
trucks?
cul-de-sac, so the cul-de-sac. I'm good with everybody in the cul-de-sac.
Yeah. Yeah. My friend of mine was saying, "Man, you're moving that 120, blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Why do you say it like that?" And he stopped and he looked at me. I said, "Do you want me to fail?" And he just, literally, and I was being a little facetious, by the way, right? So, because it's just the way you said it was that, that kind of thing. And I'm like, and he's like, well, it's going to be hard, isn't it? I went, right. So why would you say it like that? And he's like, well, I said, do you want me to fit? Do you want all my fish to die? Is that what you're saying? I said, here's the thing, man. I moved in the middle of winter in Canada. I said, and didn't lose anything. I said, I'm going to move now in the summer. you think it's going to be easier or harder? It's about the same. You got to take different precautions, right? So it was really funny that I said to the guy, this guy said that, right? And he's like, oh, I said, so now, I said, because you made that comment, I'm making you carry my tank. Right? And he just looked at me. I said, and if you break my tank, you know what's going to happen to you, right? So he's laughing, and then I got him laughing about it again. So he got it. It's like, he didn't understand. It's like, to us, when we're moving tanks or we're doing stuff, it's as serious as a heart attack to us. When your new tank, you're doing a 300 gallon, isn't it, Tristan?
350 gallons.
350 gallon. I hate you. I hate you and I love you at the same time. I don't think I want a tank that big. I think me and Jeeves have had many conversations about that. I kind of topped out at 120. I'm kind of good with that size. I want to raise funds now for when I move, so that when I put the 120 in the new place, I can redo the rock work. I got a goal in mind of what I want to do now, because this tank, that's the rock left over from my my 60-gallon cube and my 40-gallon tank kind of mixed together, and it worked out, but it's not quite, you know what I mean? It's just not right where I wanted it. And if you look at my 20, the rock structure is glued together. It's done. I got ledges. I did it the way my wife did it the way she wanted, which is what I want. We both like that same kind of really, I don't know, reef look, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just, I don't know what to call it. Ledges.
Not like a. Oh, you want ledges? Not like a rock wall.
Right. No rock. You got it. Yeah. It doesn't look like
depth.
a rock wall. I want.
You want depth.
Right. I want space in that tank. I want it to look a certain way, and with the 120, I didn't really have that opportunity. I got a really good deal on the tank, and stand and everything else, but it was really weird. I had blown money buying a prior tank, and I found the pictures, by the way, and I could still kill that person for selling me that tank. I so could. And your railroad tie stand. Anyway, so literally,
I have two things actually that you mentioned there that I thought were very important topics. One was the moving of tanks. I'm taking the day off for when my tank arrives.
Yep.
The entire day. Now I'm not gonna. Fortunately, I am not in the position where I have to move everything over from tank A to tank B on the same day. That the moving over is going to be slow, drawn out. I'm going to take my time. I live in my own house. I don't care if their room is going to be messy while I do the move and there's tanks all over the place. I don't care. Anybody needs to come over and look at it. This is my hobby. My wife gave me approval. She's the boss, so I can do what I want to do. So, but it is like a heart attack. It is like an ambulance, like every step of the way of moving that tank. And, I did something that I never did before, is that I enlisted the help of my local fish shop to do this tank move, the delivery and tank move. And I did it for two reasons. The first reason is that they handled a lot of the logistics. Okay, a lot of the logistics of ordering the tank, dealing with the manufacturer, and also the tank arriving to me, being inspected by them. So my LFS is going to be the ones inspecting the tank, making sure it's exactly right, that it's the right size, shape, the holes are where they're supposed to be. And if it's not, they're going to reject it, before it arrives in front of my house. And I'm stuck with the task of unboxing a 350-gallon tank that just came off of a truck with an irate driver who needs to make probably 20 other deliveries, hundreds of miles away, who just wants to drop this giant box off and keep it moving. But a lot of things that they don't tell you when you get these big tanks delivered, it's like you will be very lucky if you get more than 2 drivers in that truck delivering a tank. It's going to be literally a guy with a freaking skid, trying to maneuver that tank off of the truck and onto your floor.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, hey.
Hey, I missed part of the comment, but who you buying your tank from?
AGE, acrylic and glass exhibits.
Okay, because I know what you're talking about now. I bought a tank from SCA, and it was kind of.
Tim's driving through the mountains again.
Yeah, no, no. My first tank was from SCA, and yeah, the tank that I have right now is a SCA tank, and it was one driver. He showed up there with a pallet jack, and I had to help this man
Put
get
the
the
tank on my
tank.
driveway and
Yeah,
take off. I said, wait, whoa, wait a minute, man. You know, I said I could have gotten, I had actually somebody that was there earlier that could have helped me, but I said, I don't know, it's just me, you know. And I
yeah,
said, can you help me? Can you help me? He said, I'm not allowed to go into the house, you know. I said, what are you talking about, you know? And so I ended up having to pay this guy $20 to unpack this stuff and get it into my house, at least get it in
To the
the house.
yeah.
It was just me and him and my wife. My wife's only 4'11" and 110 pounds, and hey,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was lucky.
and
My driver was
and
able to wheel the tank into my garage. You know, I live on a pretty
yeah,
flat surface, so he was able to pallet jack it into my garage, and he stuck around while I
yeah,
did take off the unscrew the
yeah.
pallet and take off the most of the wrapping, so I can see that the tank wasn't cracked or broken or
Yeah.
all types of
Well,
screwed
I
up.
had
Otherwise, I would
I
have
had
had to
also
deal with
had
it.
a stand at the same time. He was delivering tank and a stand, and
Yep, me too.
so
The
it was
tank
great.
came strapped down to the stand with the canopy
Uh,
over it.
yeah, we had to separate them and do all this. I'm sure my neighbors thought, what the hell is he doing out there at 8:30? and but yeah, it was. Yeah, he just wanted to drop it off and go. You know.
Oh yeah.
That's what they did for Fish and Hex's tank.
hmm Drop it off and go.
Yep, they dropped it because he lives in a townhouse style place, you know, condos, and so they dropped it off in his parking space and then rolled, and then he had to get a bunch of people to go help him.
Yep.
Yeah, but see, that's
I
why
know.
I did the LFS. Sorry,
Yeah.
no, I was saying that's why I did the LFS because
Yeah.
you know, ordinarily I would have rounded up, like, you know, try to get some family members, some neighbors to come and help me lift a 350-gallon tank into my house. But the fact of the matter is, none of these
That's
people
a
have ever
6
moved
to
a
8
tank.
person job. Minimum.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's huge. Mine was only
Exactly.
100 gallons, so I can't even imagine. Jesus, I could
But
have done
yeah,
that.
but imagine like if you try to get those people to come over, none of these people have ever lifted and know
Right,
that.
right,
Yeah,
right.
don't grab it by the holes in the back, guys. You might get
Yeah.
your hand sliced open, or
Oh
don't
yeah.
drop it on the edge, guys. You know, this needs to go in parallel, guys. You need to put the tank on the stand and slide it in, you know, slowly onto the stand, guys. No, I didn't want to deal with that. So I mean, I worked with my LFS. They're gonna have their guys. They move tanks all day
Yeah.
long. They
Yeah.
do installations, big installations, and the best thing is, if I had my family members moving this tank and it dropped and it broke,
Yeah.
I'm responsible for it. I'm not gonna blame
Yeah.
any family member or helper
Right.
No.
for dropping and killing my tank. Okay, if it cracks. But if the
Yeah.
LFS is the ones that are moving it, I'm protected by
Yeah.
their insurance, by their. If the tank drops and breaks, I
Yep.
get a new tank. That's just
Yeah.
what it is. You know, I know it's gonna take longer, but hey,
But it's
my
worth
whole
it
tank
in the
doesn't have
long
to come
run.
down.
Yeah,
It's
exactly,
worth
right?
it to have that peace of mind.
So
Yeah.
you can take that from the other point of view. You can look at what I've got to do. So I've got a 120 gallon setup, 4x2x2, and I've got to get that out of an apartment upstairs into a truck, move it across town, and then back into a new house and set back up. And everyone's like, well, that's difficult, isn't it? I said, well, it's awkward, but it's not difficult if you plan, right?
Do you have anybody? Do you have any saltwater friends there around Craig that could help you? Do you have
Oh
any?
yeah, no, that's the great thing is I have about 4 or 5 guys I can count on to be there on that day, right?
Yeah.
Because they know that this bucket's got fish in it, this bucket's got fish and coral,
Yeah.
you know, so on and so forth. This one's just rock, you know, whatever the
Right.
case may be, right?
Yeah,
Because
like typical neighbors don't work, you know, because they don't know, you know, they don't
No.
unless they have a tank, they don't know what they're dealing with. So
Right.
It's nice. Before I had moved tanks, I would always ask some of the guys here locally. I'd say Saturday, any of you guys that can stop by? I'm going to be moving this tank or whatever it is. Could you please help me out? And I usually have a couple guys show up, and it goes real smooth because they know what they're dealing with. You know, they have a good idea what they're dealing with. So.
No,
So if you got
exactly.
somebody-
No.
Yeah, if you got some friends like that, that'll be great.
So I got the wife excited about the moves. Anybody want? Because those that know, my wife is OCD, and her OCD is about change. Things move, things change. Like I can't even move something in the reef tank without
Is she
her
a
flipping
Taurus?
out. No, actually, she's a Sagittarius, I think. But you know,
When's her birthday?
December 4th. I think that
Yeah,
makes
it's
her.
Sagittarius.
Yeah, so she's you know, she's accepted that we gotta go. She now knows why we gotta go. She knows it had nothing to do with anything she would have normally thought. The blame is solely where it is, and she knows that, right? So she's like, well, you know, whatever. And I mentioned, I said, you know what we should do? I said we should redo the rockscape in the tank. And she's all of a sudden the ooh factor went up high because for her, she loves doing it. I don't know why, and I'm okay with it. She loves buying the coral. She loves all that, but the rock work for her, if it looks, she goes, so how do we make sure it doesn't fall apart this time? I said, well, let's make sure it's dry rock so I don't have to deal with die-off and causing an algae outbreak. She goes, right. I said, and we'll make sure it's glued, cemented, hammer, whatever I got to do to make sure it stays as one structure, right? You know, so we're talking 20, 30 pounds of structure, right? And she's like, right. I said, so we'll put it in and we'll put it together kind of like an erector set, right? And it's done and it's stable. And she's like, okay. She goes, so I got to plan my corals, right? And I'm like, I just hear the money machine going off. Like, oh man, everyone would normally be happy. My wife has expensive taste in coral, right?
Sound like my wife.
And so, okay, so that's how I got her into it, and now she's into it. So now I'm like, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. Here we go, right?
Yep.
So,
'Cause, I mean, that sounds pretty cool. But you know, the other thing that I wanted that you mentioned also was about the size of the tank. You said that you know, it's a big tank. You hate me and you love me at the same time.
yep,
And but you already decided that the 120 for you was going to be the biggest tank that
I'm
you're
gonna deal
willing
with.
to
Exactly.
willing to deal with. So I had kind of like the same epiphany, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I found this out through financial cost. Now, I could have went with a 500-gallon tank or a 1,000-gallon tank.
Mm-hmm.
The wall is big enough, the room is big enough, and I have the space for it. Now, and I could have afforded it. But the problem for me came down to the long-term costs of running that tank. You see, what I realize a lot of people don't understand is a lot of people say go with the biggest reef that you can afford when you first start out.
Yep, that
And
seems to be.
I think that's a good idea because it kind of sets a base level for what you can and can't afford and what you think you'll be doing. But for a new reefer, I wouldn't necessarily say go with the biggest one you can afford. I would say go with the biggest one that you're comfortable with. Because what will end up happening is that you'll find out that because your tank is 500 gallons, you are no longer in a class of skimmers where you can just go onto bulk reef supply and say, hey, give me a skimmer that's going to handle 500 gallons of heavy bioload.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to say, I have a couple of skimmers that might handle that, but you know, they're going to be a little bit pricey, probably in the neighborhood of over $1,000, $2,000. And then you're going to realize that the people or manufacturers who make skimmers that will handle comfortably a 500 or 1,000-gallon bioload, they're going to be custom work, and
They
custom
can
work
name their
means
price.
big bucks. So when
Yeah.
you're looking at a $5,000 skimmer and wondering how the hell did I get myself into this situation, you're going to be going, wow, that is a really big skimmer.
Yep.
And then even everything, simple things like wave makers. Yeah, MP, you know, Apex Wave can handle 4,000 gallons. You know, Vortex MP60 can handle what, like 6,000 gallons or something like that. To move water around 1,000 gallons through rock work and everything like that, you're gonna be investing into some like freaking Panerai pumps that are like, you know, $1,200, $1,600 a pump
Yep.
for
Mhm.
one. And then you're going like, holy crap, this glass only cost me, you know, $6,000 to get a 1,000-gallon tank, but the equipment needed to run it's gonna really, you know, it's like buying a car,
Yep.
a really nice car, like a really good entry-level Mercedes Benz, is what you're gonna end up with this setup. And then lighting, gee, must. I mean, think about it. If you decide to go LED for a 1,000-gallon tank, what you're looking at,
Holy cow.
16 radions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, if you're trying to penetrate, depending on how deep that 1,000 gallons is, you're looking at what, 400-watt metal halides. You know, if you can't get, you know, if you can't afford the radions,
Yep.
you know, how much power is that going to take you to run that 1,000-gallon tank? So there is a tipping point on the tank scale, on tank size scale, where you have to start considering the supporting actors for your display.
Yep.
Okay, and your supporting actors will 100% in almost every case out compete the cost of that 1,000-gallon tank.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're planning a big tank, take that into consideration. You can't just look at what the glass will cost you, because the glass will cost you X amount, to fill it will cost you Y amount, and then you throw in a couple buckets of salt, you have a saltwater tank. But can you keep everything alive?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, right? So, hey, Michael Aaron's in here. So I call you Mike. Sorry, but it's a Canadian thing. So Michael Aaron's in here. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, dude, mate, you okay?
I'm pretty good. How are you? Do you want to chime in on you got a big tank. You do.
Yeah, that's why I jumped in, just to talk about tank size and stuff. I myself, like what Tristan was saying there about tank size, get the biggest tank you can afford and whatever else. Now, obviously, I'm lucky with what I've got with YouTube and stuff, being able to, in essence, can't afford what I've got. I could never afford to have bought the tank that I've got. But obviously, being a YouTuber and stuff like that, I'm lucky to be able to, get stuff sponsored and things like that. But when it comes to filling it, that's a different thing. Getting the corals, if I go and get a 1-inch frag and stick it in that tank, it's gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, where did I put it? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
The tank is just so big. So like, he's saying about, the amount of lights you need for 1,000 gallons, whatever. It's also, the cost of corals, having to put corals in there, mini colonies. You're putting mini colonies in, and, even then, you're spending, $60 a time on a mini colony, and you're going to need 20, 30 of them to even make the tank look half full, especially with mine being peninsular. So I've got 3 sides to fill, in essence. So, the cost is there, and, it is a big expense when, when you think about it. It's a big expense. So, I thought to myself, like, do I really need the big tank? I've always heard, big tank. It's always the case of the biggest tank is the best tank. You know what I mean? That's sort of like, that sort of like type thing. But like I said, I went round to Paul's house the other day, and I've also seen other people's tanks, and like, I've seen better 4B2B2s, 3B2B2s more often than I've seen 8B2B2s, 8B3s, or whatever. Whenever you see a large tank, they either tend to be fish-only tanks or very sparse reefs, just simply because of the cost. There's only so many people out there that can afford to truly kit out large reefs, unless you're going to do like softies and stuff like that, because obviously a single toadstool can take up a lot of real estate for next to no money, and also next to no time for growth and stuff. So, I've even been sort of like thinking to myself, do I need this big tank? Why do I have this big tank? And really, I have it because of YouTube. Because it is the case of, the bigger the tank, the better. If I've got this big tank, then I'm great. I've got a big tank. You know what I mean? But really, in essence, I probably think, especially after seeing Paul's tank was like a real sort of like awakening for me, that you don't need a huge tank to have an amazing reef. You know what I mean?
I actually just mentioned that too. I was saying one of the best looking tanks I've seen is Paul's. Paul's tank is amazing to look at. It really is. Like that full lush reef. Like there it is, and it's only what, a 3-foot tank?
It's 42. I don't think it's 42. It's purple one.
It's a Red Sea Reefer 350, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go.
So
Yeah, you remember CJ's Cube? That was a great looking tank too.
Yep.
Man.
Do you remember CJ's first one? The small one, the tiny one with the Kenya tree on the top. That is to this day still my favourite CJ's aquarium tank, and it was tiny. You know what I mean? But that's what I was sort of like saying is like obviously my way of thinking has changed now that I've had a chance to experience it. That going to that, once you've got to a certain point, get that bigger tank. I don't think you really need to go bigger and bigger and bigger. It's just getting the tank to where you want it, because some people feel restricted to sort of like say, oh, well, I've got my tank as it is right now, so I need to go bigger now. But it could be the case of, well, you don't need to go bigger. You can just adjust what you've already done. So say, for example, if you've gone predominantly softies or something like that, and you're like, oh, I need to go bigger now because I've done what I've done now on board, so I want to get a bigger tank to give myself a new challenge. Sometimes it can just be the case of you don't need that tank size to give you that new challenge. It's just challenge yourself with the box that you've already got. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I've strongly considering taking that challenge on for myself. Reducing the size of my tank. I'm trying to sort of like get away from the whole what will YouTube think? You know what I mean? If I do this, what will YouTube think? If I do that, what will YouTube think? I'm getting away from that, and like as you've noticed at the moment, I'm not creating on YouTube at all. I pop into live streams now and then, but I'm sort of like I'm dialing things back and I'm changing the way that Aaron's Aquarium operates, because I don't enjoy my hobby because of YouTube, because I can't feel free to do what I want to do with my own tank, because I'm worried what other people may say about, oh, if I do this, it's a bit controversial, what will people think? So, and you can only imagine if you go from a 7 foot by 2.5 foot by 2.5 foot tank to a 4 by 2 by 2, what will people's initial thoughts be? Oh, we can't handle a big tank, or that tank's crashed, or, whatever, all these things. So you've got to really, think about stuff like that as a YouTuber, because although you might just think, oh, want to try a small tank, other people think, oh, well, he's crashed his tank, or he can't handle a big tank, or, all that type of stuff. So
and to chime in with you, that's the court of public opinion that we're talking about, right? So it does make things difficult from a YouTuber's point of view. There's going to be that large amount of people that see whatever it happens to your tank, and the decision, their what's the word I'm looking for here? Their opinion is you don't know what you're doing because that happened. It doesn't matter why it happened. Is that what you mean, Mike?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can have a perfectly valid reason for whatever it is, but those reasons can fall on deaf ears sometimes, especially if somebody already doesn't like you in the first place. But not so much talking about that, more talking about the tank size. I think the whole get as big as you can afford, maybe not. Get as big as what you want. Get as big or as small as what you want, because I know that I can create something that I truly want to create, a load of sticks and LPS and all this stuff in a 4 by 2 by 2, and it's going to cost me half the price, if not even more than that, than it was to create what I want to create in a 7 foot by 2.5 foot by 2.5 foot system. You know what I mean? So I do have the big tank. I have the big tank. I can run the big tank, and I can kit it out, but it's going to take me longer.
It's funny, Aaron, that you mentioned about like filling that tank. What filling the tank would cost you, because you have to buy corals that are a certain size. Meaning, yeah, you could buy a 1-inch frag and wait for 2 or 3 years for it to grow out into the size that you want it to be, or that it would make the tank look good. But do you really want to? Do you want to be able to look into your tank and see that coral for what it is? Because right now in your tank, if you put a 1-inch frag, you have to get up so close to try and see the colors on that 1-inch frag, or the polyps on a 1-inch frag, that it really does disappear. And that was one of the biggest things that I found that a lot of my viewers and subscribers didn't understand about my tank that I have right now. So my tank that I have right now is roughly a 180 in terms of dimensions and volumes. Realistically, it's probably like a 160 or oversized 150 in terms of actual water volume and space that I have inside of it. And so when I started buying corals, I started, especially SPS corals, I had them all over the rock, and I kept them on my frag plugs. And a lot of people were like, oh, when those corals grow out, they're going to crowd and they're going to be a lot of warfare. I'm like, well, who says I want them to grow out like that? Who says that I actually want any of these corals to be any bigger than a 3x3 colony? You know what I mean? A 3-inch by 3-inch colony. In this volume and space that I have, I can't afford, or rather, I can't allow my corals to get so huge that they start killing each other off. I'm about collecting. I wanted all of the different species and colors, so I committed myself to trimming my corals when needed to keep them at a 3x3-inch type maximum size, so that I could have multiple different types of corals and colonies and stuff like that in there. And if that meant that all of my ACAN quote unquote colonies will only be 4 polyps, the minute they get a 5th polyp, I cut it off and sell it, then that's what it's going to be. You know what I mean? Part of my reason for doing the upgrade was actually because for many folks that have lived in an apartment all of their life, it's always felt as if it was a temporary situation. And I've lived in an apartment for the greater part of my adult years, and I've always felt that I was in a temporary um, situation. I always felt that at some point this building could decide that they don't want to renew my lease, or they can sell the building, or they could raise the rent too high, and I would have to move. So I came in the habit of saving my boxes for everything. I had a closet full of boxes. Every piece of equipment that I purchased, I kept the box, because I always thought that at some point I may need to repack this to move it somewhere. And that's the mentality I had about my tank. Now, when I purchased my house here, this is my first house in North Carolina. When I purchased my tank, I had that same mentality. I felt like this was going to be a temporary situation, and subconsciously, that made me order a tank smaller than what I really wanted. It made me order a tank that I felt I settled for as my dream tank. And when I was given the opportunity to get my dream tank, I said, you know what? I'm gonna throw that feeling of temporariness out of the window, and I'm gonna get something that I know that I'm gonna want to have for a long, long, long time. But I don't want to upgrade again in 5 years. I want to get something that's as big as I can possibly fit, that looks good. And I figured 300 gallons was, right around 60% of what my equipment that I have can handle. And I figure, having your equipment being able to handle 60% or a little bit more is a good number to have. You're not over skimming, you're not under skimming.
Yeah.
So
Well, if
I
you've
was
got
like, yeah, it's gonna be good. I
if you've got
oversized all of
equipment,
my equipment for that reason.
right?
Yeah.
So your equipment can only handle 60% of your volume. So say for example.
No. Over. I mean, like over. My equipment right now can handle my 300 gallon plus about 40 or 50% more
Ah, right.
than
Because
that,
what I was
right?
going to say is, even if it was under, then you could still get away with it. You would just then have to add stock into your system, which would work with that. So obviously, you couldn't go out and buy 30 angelfish and something like that if you was, if your filtration was underpowered, so to speak. But it doesn't mean that you could have to, set the
Yeah.
tank up
So
accordingly.
like my skimmer is rated for like 650 gallons, and I'm running it on, about 240 gallons of total water volume, including my refugium, not refugium, my frag tank and my sump and stuff like that. So when I purchased my equipment, I purchased things that were overkill. I mean, my power heads are only at 30%. You know, they've never been running anything more than 30% because anything more will have my sand blowing around all over the place. So equipment wise, I think I came out ahead because I oversized everything from the beginning. Um, for this tanker for this go around for this new build, I'll only be changing things that make sense to change. Like I'm not going to transfer sand. I'm going to get new sand. I'm going to transfer rock, but I need to add more rock to this tank anyway, just a little bit, not too much. So I'll be able to, you know, get my new rock, put it in the old system, let it get cycled up really good in there, get a lot of live bacteria, and then put it into the new tank and build, on top of that 2-month-old rock with my rock that's been in my tank for, for a year or so already. So I mean, in that sense, I'll be able to do the transfer at minimal cost, really only paying for the new tank
Well, you're only
and
topping up,
sand
aren't you?
inside.
Really? Yeah. You're not going out and spending the whole lot. You're just doing like a little bit of a top up. You know, like you said, you've only got to add a little bit of extra rock to the rock that you've already got. So just a little top up. You know, you could probably, especially at the beginning, get away with just the rock that you've got, and then throughout the year or so, the next year, you know, have an idea of how you want your skate to evolve, and then buy a piece of rock a week or something, to keep the cost down, and just plot that in, and just so all the rock that you've already got is already feeding. If you're using rock as filtration, where I don't, but it's already feeding. And then when you plop your new bit of rock in, nothing changes. You just add a little bit, and if you've got enough bacteria within the rocks that you've already got, you'll never have any more bacteria than your requirements. So this new bit of rock will become will get bacteria in it or something, but all that'll happen is new, fresh, strong bacteria will potentially grow in this new rock, and then older bacteria in other rocks will die. You won't have more, you'll just have different, newer, stronger bacteria, because, obviously it's the whole food source thing. But yeah, it sounds like you've got it nailed, and I think, me personally, on my side, it's I think because I've always been in big tanks. My first tank was a 120, 4v2v2. That was my first ever, my first proper tank, which was tropical tank. And then I went up to 6x2x2. So I don't know what that is in gallons. And then I went to this one, which is 7x2.5x2.5. I've never really experienced doing a reef in a 4v2v2 or any less than that. I've never really been a small tank keeper. So looking at small tanks and looking at how they run and thinking about the cost factor of how they run and yada yada yada, I'm thinking to myself, I could achieve a hell of a lot more in a smaller tank than I can in this big tank.
Aaron, for many years, I actually only went with tanks that were 4 feet, because if the tank was 4 feet, that means I only needed 2 metal halides, only 2 LED fixtures, only 2 power heads. You know what I mean? Only a 40 breeder as a sump for the 4-foot tank. It can handle such a big, such a wide variety of tanks depending on the water level. So I only stayed to things that were easily manufactured and wide stream. And then I branched out to 5-foot tanks because, again, they made 60-inch fixtures. So I was like, all right, well, as far as lighting is concerned, I know I'll be able to find a 60-inch ATI T5 type fixture, and that'll cover every square inch of it. I won't have to, kind of Frankenstein anything together to get coverage, nor will I have to go out there and buy 50 bajillion different LED modules or whatever to light it up. So this 8-foot tank is actually one of the first times I'm venturing into an area where I wonder how to do my T5 supplementation. Do I do two 60-inch T5s, or do I do two 4-foot?
I would do
Or
two matching 4-foot.
Yeah, right. So I
Easier
was
to
thinking
find
about doing a
balls.
retro 4-foot.
What I've done with mine is I've got my LEDs running down the middle, and then I've got 2 tubes either side, 54 watt tubes, which are 4 foot, I think, something like that.
Yep, 48
yeah,
inch.
4 foot,
Yep.
Yeah, 4 foot tubes. So I've just put 2 Blue Plus tubes either side of the light. So there's 4 Blue Plus tubes with my LEDs. So basically, I'm using the Blue Plus to supplement the end of the spectrum, which the LEDs don't provide, because there's next to no, I think apart from the Orphec, that provide true UV. So I use the T5s to supplement that end of the spectrum, and then I use my LEDs to provide the coloration, to adjust, add the white. Yeah, you have to give the color, to add the white in, just to give that extra diversification for the color. So basically, I tweak the LEDs to work with the T5s rather than the T5s working with the LEDs. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I just do it like that. And the great thing is I've got a hood as well, so I can do everything on timber. Just stick a piece of timber in and flipping tie my lights to it. Dead easy.
Yeah, it's
Frankenstein.
Yeah, exactly. I got a Frankenstein setup too, and it works great. But if I could afford the Reef Bright XHO stuff, I would, because we kind of discussed that last night. That yeah, I can go out for $100. I can have a 48-inch, 54 watt ATI actinic or whatever the case may be. But I'm going to have to replace that bulb after 6 to 9 months, depending on the time and how long it's on. The XHO might cost me $350, but I'm probably not going to have to replace it, hopefully, after 9 months. So that's where the cost plays into it, right? So, it's...
I think also as well, with that is like, sort of like, especially with something like, with me, is reaching to your means as well. Being realistic about how much money you've got in your pocket. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I, say, with me, for example, I won this full, beautiful Reef tank yesterday. But realistically, with the money that's in my pocket, that ain't gonna happen.
Nope.
You know what I mean? So I think, for a lot of people, it's just like getting that in your head and just thinking to yourself that this is what I want. I want this 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 foot tank. But like what Tristan was saying, but if I do get this tank, then I've got to get this, $1,000 skimmer, these, multiple thousands of dollars worth of lighting and everything else. It's like, although I want this tank and I have the space for this tank, can I truly afford this tank? If the answer is yeah, then go for it. But if the answer is, well, I'm going to have to scrimp and save, and certain things are going to have to be cut, or, I'm going to have to borrow money off somebody, or, something like that, I think it's a case of, that's a project for another day. Like I've got my dream tank, which is a 5 foot by 5 foot by 2 foot high tank. But I know that I will require multiple lights. I will require, more than what I've already got right now. It's not feasible. You know what I mean?
No.
I want it, but I can't do it. You know what I mean? So it's one of those where I think to yourself, it's kind of having dream tanks, and that's the point of dreams, isn't it?
That's exactly. It's the same thing. Oh, if I won the lottery and that kind of thing. Yeah. And it's like, when it really comes down to it, here's the, and I think this is what we're all saying. When you hear that, buy the biggest tank you can afford, everyone hears tank, but they don't remember all the support equipment that's going into that tank, right? So if you want those, Orphec V4 Atlantics, they're not cheap, folks. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking, well, geez. How much is the, Dev, do you know? How much are the 2 foot Orphecs?
Never priced them out other quickly.
I think the 4 foots are about 1,000.
About $1,000 for the 4 foot one, yeah. So,
Right.
And if you buy a 4 foot tank, that light should do it, technically, right? But it's like Kessel's, right? The A360 WE. I think they're about $400 a piece here in Canada. If you want to put them over your tank and you have a 4 foot tank, they're going to recommend you put 4 on it, right? You can get away
with 2.
You can get away with 2, right? So, go ahead, Dev.
Well, yeah, I know exactly. You don't need that. Like, I could get away with 3 XR-15s on my tank, but I have 4.
Right.
Half of me's debating putting my frag whip on for 5 just to be stupid and overkill it, but...
Right, exactly. If you can afford to go a little more, you will, right? But if you had, say, a 7-foot tank, things start to change. You know what I mean? That bigger tank starts to change the parameters of what you're putting on there, right?
I mean,
Like,
yeah, it's a trade-off, right? Because, like, one aspect, everyone wants bigger. They all, more space for coils, blah, blah, blah. But you're also, everything you add, you're sucking up more. There goes the power bill, goes up, everything else, right? So it's all
it's
gotta
all
consider.
relative, exactly, right? Like my wife, I got excited when she talked about downgrading the 120 to a 40 breeder. I really did because I'm going to keep my something, and then all of a sudden she's like, "No, I really like the 120." I'm like, okay, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'll keep it. I've got it. Why would I do anything else with it? But
Hey, Dev, you know what you like?
Yeah.
If you do put the other one on, you should stagger him.
Yeah.
So you should have him so that the corner to corner. So, the front of one light is touching the back of the other, if you know what I mean. So a bit like a checkerboard.
Really?
The black and white.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you're looking at your tank at the large side, at the moment you've got 4 lights in a straight row.
Mhm.
What I'd do is put another bar up and then have it so that one light is like a little bit further back, so you're filling more at the back of the tank. The other light is a little bit further forward, like a checkerboard, and it moves across. And then you got the 5, so like the last one, I'd be like staggered out a little bit, do it like that, and then the coverage in your tank then it'd be like having C5.
Would it look funny though?
It would look funny, but it would look funny to OCD, but also as well is it would break the norm. It would break the normal way of thinking things. You know what I mean? Because you are achieving what you want to achieve from your lights by fully filling your tank out.
Well, if I wanted to be really crazy, I could put 2 kind of side by side and angle them each inwards a bit. You'd be shooting it
Good.
outwards, going inwards at an angle along the tank.
Yeah.
So 2 on the left side, 2 on the right side, 1 in the middle.
No, I'm thinking, I probably won't actually do this, but if you had 2, like, if I had a XR30, like, lengthwise, you got your 2 pucks side by side, right?
Yeah.
But if you angle them in a bit, you'd be shooting light in, like, outside inwards all along the tank. Be kind of interesting.
Okay. A bit like what we do with a focus one.
Yeah, kind of.
Right.
But I don't know. Honestly though, with the diffusers, you get a pretty decent blanket of light out of them as it is. So I'll probably.
I mean, my 8-foot tank is gonna have 4.
I had to up the lights 9 or 10% to balance it out. So yeah, about 9 or 10% you'd lose. But it gives it really nice color blending. I don't know. I like them. But yes, it costs me probably 10% more in power.
You find it easier to photograph and video your tank now?
I do. And there's less. The biggest thing I notice is, like, in the shadows, you'd see like different colors and stuff with the single diodes, where this way you don't. It gives it really nice color blending, and yeah, it just films nicer, and it's easier on the eyes. Like, you don't see the LEDs, you see like a little flat white glowing panel of light, I guess. But I don't know, I like them.
Yeah, I really like my diffusers as well, though. I mean, I have it over my frag tank right now, and on my new tank, I'll be running 4 radions with diffusers on them and the 4 T5 bulbs, and that's pretty much what I'm looking for.
You have a ton of light, man.
Representative. Well, I mean, 4 radions, I don't run them at 100%, but it's an 8-foot tank and it's 26 inches high, so.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, that's a lot of height.
Yeah, I'll need the flood from the T5s to make sure everything is lit up in terms of inside of it. But for the 4 radions, I'm using 3 over my display right now, and they're only at 40%. So it's not like but for even blanket coverage though, I think I'll need the 4th on an 8-foot tank. 3 of them is just not gonna cut it on a tank.
I mean,
long.
On an 8-foot, I'd probably want 4 for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use the focus.
Sorry, I was gonna say, in my head, I basically like a 2-foot. You can push it to 30 inches, whatever. But I'd say about 1 for every 2 foot of tank. And if you want like really dense light, like tons of SPS, then a little tighter than that. Is my way of thinking.
you've got the Radions, and you've seen the Focus ones at the same time.
Yep.
Would you say the head cluster on the Radions is about the same size as the Focus ones, or is the Focus ones a little bit bigger?
Yeah, the Focus one has a physically bigger cluster for like the diodes on it. I really like the look of the light from the Focustronic lights. The fixture itself is a bit bulky for me.
Oh, the fixtures are weird. Huh?
Yeah, like yeah, if you have a canopy, hell yeah, like they're great. But
just the point that I'm just trying to make is like the cluster size. So I've got a 7 foot by 2.5 foot by 27 high tank.
and you have 4, right?
So I've got 3.
You have 3? Man,
I've got 3.
I put 4 on Brad's tank, and his is only like 5 to 6 feet.
Well, I've got a 4th, but
Yeah.
I ended up just putting 3 on because the way that it is, and also the way that I'm scaped as well, because I don't have everything right up close to the back of the tank, and I don't have stuff right up close to the front, as in peninsula way. If you're looking at it through like a normal like width side, obviously the left side and the right side, I've not got everything pressed up to the side, so I don't really need tons of light to touch that area. Plus as well, what I do is I'll put like certain corals in that area that don't require tons of light, so I'll fill the area out with them. And when it comes down to when you're saying about 4 lights for the 8-foot Tristan, I think you'll be fine with 4 lights. I don't think you'd need more than that. Put the 4 lights down the middle, and if you are going to supplement with T5, put the T5 like so. If it's like a standard tank where the long side is against the wall, you put 2 tubes at the back, 2 tubes at the front of your LEDs, and you'll get a brilliant fill. You know what I mean? You'll get a really nice fill.
Exactly what I was thinking, Aaron. Exactly what I was thinking.
A really nice fill, and it won't cost you as much money either.
Yep, because I'm gonna do a retro, because I'm doing a floating canopy over the tank, so I'm gonna build a floating canopy out of some very thin but strong wood with a decent frame inside of it. That I'll be able
Do you know what's a really good idea for a floating canopy, especially a thin, like a thin floating canopy? Do you know kickboards for kitchens? Do you know that goes below the doors? So you're talking about, what are they, from floor to the bottom of the cupboard, about 4 inches, something like that. So you can buy that in a big long kickboard, feet long, and it's most of the time it's in high gloss black, high gloss white, reds, whatever, loads of different colours. But it's like the perfect height to just hide some Radions and some C5s. Create like a rectangular canopy, and then on the internals use that metal that Dev uses. What's that metal called, Dev?
True aluminum, or like 1515 is what I used, or 2020.
Yeah, so it's like an X in it, like a metal X.
Yep.
Get some of that and build an internal frame. So basically, the kickboard will just be for visuals. It won't be for any strength purposes. It'll just be visuals. And then get an internal frame of that metal stuff. And then you could be able to slot in your T5s and your LEDs and everything really, really nice with really strong, but quite light canopy. And then you can suspend it then on wires or something and put like a little floating canopy. It'll look good.
Yeah, it'll be good. And okay, do you have any suggestions of what I should change or do for Rev 2 of my build? I keep debating what I should change or do differently.
He's still doing it.
Oh, it's coming soon. I just gotta make up my mind.
To be honest, with what you showed us, is it still like potentially going at the top of the stairs?
Yeah.
Well, just stick with what your original idea was, then, of just making it a couple of inches
just a little
bigger.
Bit.
Yeah, and maybe put a little bit more height onto it than what you've currently got. But other than that, it's a nice tank.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. No, I'm gonna do 4 inches higher, 4 or 5 inches wider. I don't know why I'm still debating on that 1 inch, but anyways. And then I'm just kind of keep playing with the sump design now of how to do that.
So this is a tank that this is a replacement tank, so it's, you're not paying out for this, right?
Well, it's gonna cost me a bit.
So
Like, if I go bigger on the tank, I mean, it's about $200 for the glass, and then the stand's probably gonna be like 400-ish for the metal powder coated stand. Because if I go bigger, then I need a new stand.
So for the sake of that extra couple of $100, for the sake of a couple of extra inches,
Yep.
would you say it's worth it, or could you not just stick with what you got?
Well, I'll sell my old tank for whatever the cost is to pay for it. So.
Right.
Base.
Yeah, well, all right, fair enough then. As long because, like, I know, like, when I was having my tank built, I wanted to go 30 inches high.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I want 30 inches, but 30 inches meant I had to go to 15 mil glass, whereas I'm currently on 12.
So see, mine's 15 mil now, and then
yeah, because yours is braceless, isn't it?
Yeah, and then I was laughing. I was talking to the guy, and he says he's not carrying 15 mil right now. He says 19, so I'm basically getting 19 mil for free to upgrade it. It's gonna be a freaking tank.
Yeah.
You're gonna be able to smash that with an hammer, and it won't even break.
Oh, dude, this thing's literally gonna be a tank. It's gonna be so heavy.
Yep.
But
So what I was saying was, like, I wanted to go 30 inches high, but it was like, for the extra 3 inches, it was going to cost me like £100 an inch. So, it was going to cost me £300 extra for my tank, just for that extra 3 inches. So then I thought to myself, I can go 27 high and just pay this price, or I can go 30 high and put an extra £300 on the price. And then in the end, for that extra 3 inches, I couldn't warrant it. And I'm so glad I didn't as well, because I find it difficult just trying to pick corals up and stuff with a 27. I couldn't. If I had a 30-inch high tank, I probably would have put a hammer through it by now, because it's so difficult to get into and work with.
Yeah, I like my low one for that.
But yeah,
yeah, I don't know. Should I do 4 inches wider or 5 inches wider? I don't know why that inches matters, but
wider as in front to back.
Yeah, this way. Because right now
I would put.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying I would put as many inches on the front to back, like the depth on a tank, as physically possible. That's where, if I was to have to put inches on a tank, I'd always add it front to back rather than height, because the freedom that you get with a deep tank, with a tank that is 2.5 foot, 3 foot front to back, the freedoms that you get for rockscaping, swimming space, everything. It's just the top level. Normally, like, if you have a 3 foot high tank, you just end up with like a foot and a half's worth of dead space above the tank, and most of the time the fish don't even use it, because they still, depending on fish choice, they all just stay to the rocks anyway. They don't go up there, so it's dead space. Whereas if you've got that option, if you've got that space in your house to be able to go deeper, I would put the inches on there all day long.
I agree. I prefer that depth.
Yeah, I would say also got to be careful too. Like, there's one thing a lot of people don't realize. Like, my tank is 30 inches deep right now, and it's up against the wall. And I know Dev is building a peninsula that will start off against the wall, right, Dev, and then be moved into a peninsula form factor. So one of the things that I realized with my tank is that even with the 30 inches deep, and I built 3D structures where the depth was in consideration, I could never appreciate it from the front of the tank.
No,
the depth is just not visible.
Oh, I really love looking through the end cap. I love that long length view.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna use a peninsula, I would say then go for the depth. But for anyone else that's putting their tank up against the wall, I don't think depth is as important as height. You can't appreciate the depth.
It depends on how you scape the tank as well, doesn't it? Because if you're scaping a standard way of just piling up rocks, then you won't. And I know what you mean, because when you look through the front of a tank, and then you climb up and look above it, it's like, bloody hell, you know what I mean? It, like, it's deeper than it looks from the front. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
But
or even to the
you can
side.
also you can manipulate that though with a good scape.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
most people will always put corals on the panel that they can see the most, and so all of the corals will be on the front facing rocks.
On my now, any of my new corals, I'm starting to add on along the back wall because I know there'll be eventually nice ones I'll see.
Right.
Which is kind of funny, but I gotta make sure it looks good on both sides.
All I can suggest to everybody listening right now is everybody get a peninsula. Whether you can put it anywhere or not, just get one.
Yeah,
Make
just
safe. They're
make it-
amazing.
I gotta agree to an extent because I do like that what Dev was saying. Love being able to look in from the end of my tank and look in.
Yeah,
It
that's my
does.
favorite view.
It is a nice view, right? And it does, I think, matter how you scape it, right?
Yeah,
So
like my scape, if you don't really see it, but if you look at it, it's more centered, right? And I got swimming room, so going wider is really just going to give me more sand space and swimming room all around it. Because I'll probably keep the same scape because I like it. And it's already
definitely. Like it's scape is something that never really gets spoken about when it comes to setting up a tank. You know,
Huge.
people say, "Oh, get the right light." You know, get live rock, get live sand, get dry rock, get dry sand, get an oversized skimmer, get this, get that, get the other, or get Pagani rock, get dry rock, whatever. They talk about the rock, but then they don't talk about how to best utilize the rock. And I think, like you said, is that rock is your skeletal structure of what your reef is going to become. 9 out of 10 times, as the tank grows out, you won't even see the rock because that's exactly what it is. It's just like it's the skeleton on which everything sits on, and then eventually it'll be covered. You won't see it.
I'm actually a bit worried about moving my rock because I mean, as Colin crust, it basically fuses chunks of it together.
You're gonna have plenty of frags.
yeah.
Yeah, no.
But yeah,
my
so I think if you manipulate the scape correctly, depending on the type of tank that you've got, so if you've got a 2x2 cube, you would scape in a specific way to utilize that 2x2 cube. But if you had a 4x2x2, you wouldn't scape in the same way. So, best utilizing a scape to fully utilize your depth, especially if you have got that 3-foot depth, but it's just the standard type, wide angle view tank, is the way that obviously once water goes into the tank, it sort of magnifies it a bit and it makes it look shorter than it actually is. So I get what you're saying there, Tristan, but you can still sort of manipulate that back again by creating foreground, background, midground, and stuff like that with your skates to the best trick your eye again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love the swimming space that my fish have with a 30-inch deep tank. You see them go up and down as well as in and out rather than just left to right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I love that aspect of it. But one of the reasons that I changed around my aquascape, if you looked at some of the earlier videos that I did, I had 3 islands for my aquascape initially, and I changed it to more of a stacked tiered rock wall instead, with a lot of dead space on the center of the rock, inside of the rockwork for fish to sleep and stuff.
Right.
But I changed it to that because it gave me, I want to say, probably 50% more area to place corals. Because when I had started placing corals on my pillars, I realized that everything was on the front of those rocks, and I wasn't putting a damn thing on the back of the rocks because I very rarely look back there, and I wasn't gonna put a really beautiful SPS coral on the back of the rock where I can't even see it unless I'm looking top down or trying to get into one of the sides to see what it looks like. But because where my tank is right now, where my stand was right now, getting to look at the sides of my tank were a challenge. So where my new tank is going, I will be able to look at the size of my tank, and I'll be revisiting the whole put something or do more of a 3D type scape with columns, because I'll be able to put corals on all sides for the most part. But I still see myself favoring the front area of the rock for the front display
Yeah,
panel
you're gonna
instead.
favor whatever you see the most, right?
Right.
Exactly, yeah. It's like I'm doing the same thing with my peninsula. Now, obviously, it's due to the scape and due to the flow, but I like the peninsula end, like looking down that long, straight,
so good,
7 foot of length. Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. So because of that, I'm scaping and placing corals based on that. So when you look at my scape now from the peninsular end, I've got Lobos, Acans on the floor. And then the next tier up, I've got Euphilia, like sort of like, just like a little bit higher than that. A little bit higher than that, I've got like Zoas, but the Zoas are sort of like crept up from the floor up. So they're sort of like just a little bit up and back from the thingy. So again, you've got levels of colour, levels of movement, and then top level above that, you've got the SPS. So as you look from the peninsula end, you get this ramp up of colour and movement, and it's sort of like it goes up as it goes back. You know what I mean? So like a ramp of coral. And it makes the peninsula end look really good, but also as well, when you're looking from the other side, it also gives that look as well of a good ramp up and a good coloration and flow and all that. So it works really, really well. The peninsula end looks wicked. It looks great.
You know what I like about your aquascape, Aaron, is it reminds me very much of what snorkeling and diving in the Caribbean is. You'll see like a rocky outcropping with a bunch of fish around it, and then lots of really beautiful clear sand with just fish swimming over the bottom of it. I love that effect that you were able to achieve inside of your tank in terms of aquascape, and I've always admired it because you have so much sand space available. Um, and I don't know how you've resisted for so long with putting things that like to be on the sand, like open brains and stuff like that. But I saw that you put some up against the bases of your rock, and that looks really good too. One of the tanks I admire the most is Ching Chai, the 1000 SPS DSPS tank from Thailand, and he had a lot of sand bed, but he also had a ton of stuff on his sand bed that looked really, really, really awesome because they were able to kind of open up and be full open, and I really like that look. But I really love open brains and stuff like that, which is why I can never say that I won't have corals on my sand bed.
Yeah, that's the reason. So, like you were saying earlier on about, changing your structure because, just for those for the reasons of, you got more coral space. So originally, when I first ever did that scape, obviously it was 1, 2, 3, 4 pillars in essence that I just cemented all together, but it was quite manufactured looking. It was like Aquaroach or, those ceramic structures that are already pre-made. It looked very much like that and not hugely natural. It provided what I wanted it to provide by, giving plenty of swimming plates, giving me the ability to be able to vacuum the sand, up the majority of the sand with only small footprints on the floor. But, when you're saying about resisting, it's not like it was quite sterile looking with it. And like I said, I was restricted on what corals I could have and where they could go. And then when I realized that the tops of the structures were getting really high light and only certain corals would grow there, even certain SPS wouldn't grow there because the lights were too strong. I dialed the lights down, but then when I dialed the lights down, I thought to myself, well, this is sort of like giving me an idea to evolve again. And that's when, I thought, well, like what you said about brains and meat corals and stuff like that, is I've got plenty of light hitting the floor of this tank, even though it's 27 deep. Why not utilize the surface area that I've got for that type of stuff? But what I've done is, rather than just have it just on the sandbed, I've made it into a part of the structure as well. So that's the reason why I've put the corals at the bases of the rock, so that it looks all part of one thing, So the rocks look like they're coming down into this garden of coral, rather than it just being rock coral. You know what I mean? It looks like it's all sort of like it flows together. It's all one. It's all one reef. And that's what I've done. And I have started utilising the sandbed a lot more. And the great thing is I've still got a lot of sand bed available, but if any food or anything was to fall, most of the spots where sand bed isn't available is coral. So they'll eat it. So I've not got that worry about food getting trapped under rocks, because around most of the base of the rocks is coral. So the coral are going to utilize that backflow and that basically that potential food compression that would normally be compressed into the rocks. It will be pushed into them now instead. So I'm utilizing them in two ways, for not just for look, not just for aesthetic reasons. I'm also using them for practicality reasons as well. And again, the peninsula end, the reason why I'm filling that area out with more coral than anywhere else is because that's where the fish crap. That's their toilet. So what they do now is like they crop dust the coral. So they come over to use the toilet. There's a load of coral underneath them, and they just dust the coral with fish crap. And the corals are like, yeah, baby, give me some of that. Yeah, so I'm trying to utilize the tank in, rather than just having it as a visual representation. I'm also trying to make it be practical as well. And based on my test results, because we do Test Tuesday on Paul's channel, based on my test results, it's working because my tank is flipping solid as a rock. I'm running at 6.7 DKH. Most people's bumholes would be like a rabbit's nose running that low. But the tank looks brilliant, brilliant. The coloration in the corals is nothing like I've ever seen in my time reefing in my own tanks. I've seen it in other people's tanks, but never mind. I've never seen coloration like this. The growth has just gone up a notch. My Forest Fire Digi has doubled in size in the past 2 months. It's fantastic. So, 6.7 DKH is normally like alarm bells. Crap, I need to get it up. But I'm just looking at the tank thinking, I don't need to mess with it. It looks good. It looks good. Everything's growing. Everything seems fine. Nothing's stripping.
6.7, eh? What do you normally?
What's that?
6.7 Cedar Oak?
6.7, yeah.
Crazy.
Tank looks amazing. It looks amazing. I thought the same thing.
Oh, was that your ALK yesterday,
yeah.
Mike? Michael?
Yeah, well, it's
I'll
been
it
like
eventually.
that since... It's been like... It was at 7.7 at the start of the month. I think it was the 4th or something of this month. It was at 7.7.
Yeah.
And then it fell again, over a 10-day period because I didn't test. I forgot to test, and it dropped down to 6.7. But in that period of time between the 7.7 and the 6.7, when you look at your tank, normally you look at the tank and think, something's not right. A coral's closed, or, a coral, you've normally got corals that you can use as like a barometer to say that something's wrong. My tank was the opposite. I was looking at the tank and I was like, something's different. Is it just me, or do the corals look brighter? And I'm thinking, no, I just want it to look brighter. You know what I mean? It's a placebo. I'm just thinking, I want it to look brighter. But then I'm looking at the meat coral, and the meat coral's like the size of a saucer plate.
Yep.
But even when I bought it out of the shop, it wasn't that big. So I'm thinking, everything looks weird, bigger, brighter. So then when I did my test on Test Tuesday, I was like, 6.7 DKH. And my initial thought was, do you know what I mean? Crap. But then I thought to myself, actually, hold on a minute. Between 7.7 and 6.7, the corals have changed. They looked better.
Yeah.
And over the past, I think it was from the 17th until today, it stayed there, 6.7, rock solid, not moved. So I thought, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? And the tank looks banging.
Keep it stable,
yeah,
though.
That's it. I've got to keep it stable. But the tank looks absolutely banging. I've got a chili pepper Montipora. Do you know the green Monties with the red polyps? I've had it now for over a year and it's never grown. It was like the size of your little fingernail, and it's been that size for a year, never grown. Don't know why. I was like, I got it off Paul, as this tiny little frag off Paul, because he snapped it off by accident, and he just went, take it. You know what I mean? And I just thought, well, I'll see what I can do with it. Stuck it to a little plug and forgot about it. Just never grew. But then over the past couple of months, it's gone from like the size of your fingernail to like the size of, God, you don't know our coins, but like it's gone to like the size of a £2 coin now, which I don't know what that equates to in your money, but you know, it's like a nice, if you put your finger and thumb together and you create a disc inside, it's about that size.
Nice.
So it's really started to kick off and grow, and the polyps again on the chili peppers, they wasn't very red. Now they're a really, really vibrant red. The green is a really vibrant green, and it's growing. So it's like, you know, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm leaving it. 6.7, you'll do for me, son. You know what I mean? So yeah, so I'm really happy with the tank at the moment. The tank looks amazing. Looks absolutely amazing.
Good, especially after the Galurpa incident there for you.
Well, that's the thing is as well that the phosphate I've come right down since that spike. When I did the test today, my phosphates are now at 0.05.
Yeah.
The last time I tested that, they was at 0.11, and then when I had the spike, they was at 0.21. But I was running Roaphos as well at the same time, so the phosphates were going up, even though I was running Roaphos. So the Roaphos couldn't even keep up with the spike. So I can only imagine what the spike would have been if I wasn't running Roaphos. I probably would have gone, because I think I was at 0.5 originally, phosphate. So yeah, I was at 0.5, and it jumped from 0.5 to 0.21 in a very short period of time, whilst running Roaphos at the same time. So if you imagine I didn't have the Roaphos, it probably would have gone from 0.5 to 1 in the space of a week or something, and that would have been devastating. So, so yeah, it's back down now to 0.05 and stuff. So happy now, you know, everything seems to be balancing back out again, and you know, corals are growing, coloration's there, and just like a nice.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Mike. Got a quick question for you, bro.
Come on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's a bit windy, but I can hear you.
Oh, it's Mike's messing up on him again.
Oh, the suspense.
Yeah, it's killing me.
So yeah, so you know, with this 8-foot tank, Tristan, honestly, mate, you'll be like, oh, like, you'll be geeking out every day, every single day that you walk in that room and you just look at the tank, it'll just be like,
sorry.
Well,
Oh, I know it's gonna be wow.
Yeah.
I know it's gonna be.
Hey, I got a quick question for you. What's your
See it.
Oh, hold on a sec. Okay, so Cruz is back. Go ahead and ask your question, Cruz.
Michael?
Go on, Cruz. I didn't hear a word you said. There you go.
Oh, I asked what your specific gravity was. 34 ppt.
Specific gravity is 1.025.
Okay, so once again, at 1.025, your alkalinity is spot on.
Yeah.
It's in that utilization range. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's in the what, sorry?
What was that?
What did you say? It's in the what range?
In the utilization range, because you're constantly dosing it back at 6-7.
Right,
You're doing
okay.
fine. Does that make sense? Is you constantly replenish it. When you constantly replenish it at that level, you don't have to bump it up.
Yeah, well,
It's
I'm not using any form of buffer, am I? You know, I'm sort of like I'm running the knife edge, but you know, I'm walking the tightrope with, you know, but I'm not using a balancing bar or something. I'm keeping myself balanced by constantly dosing in the right amount. It is a knife edge. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that you're constantly putting it back in, regardless of whether or not you're on that knife edge or not, is that the replenishment's there. Yeah. That's what a lot of people don't understand about the hobby, is that, you know, they try to hit that perfect number of 0.82, you know, or 8.2. Do you know what I'm saying? All the time, every time. Yeah. And yeah, there's a little bit of wiggle room there. But I mean, we've run it down to probably about 6.5 and we were fine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? On some of our systems, like we left for about 2 weeks, our alkalinity bound up, but yet when we came back, the freaking corals were still there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Bigger and brighter than ever, like you said. And running it at a less specific gravity for your saltwater at 1.025, your LPS would be happier because you have less salt. Does that make sense? Like the whole osmosis thing. You have an area of higher concentration. You have less solute in the water now. Now it's going to allow them to actually expand more.
And move, yeah. So you've got like the pressure from the salt. The way that I sort of like understand what you're saying is like the Dead Sea, for example. You know, you can literally lie on the surface because there's so much salt in there. You can lie on the water. So with the LPS, it's harder for them to expand and stretch because the salt is sort of like compressing them in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you get me. You get me.
Yeah.
The dilution of the the dilution of the salt water, to 1.025, 1.024. You'll notice that it's better for the LPS typically because they are made out of 90% water or 95% water, and it's you're learning the tips and tricks by accident. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We didn't get to that chapter yet. We didn't
I think the good thing is, I think it's good that I'm learning this way because I am learning. I'm not being told. I'm learning, and I'm learning by seeing, if you know what I mean. So like, I'm getting a correlation between, wow, this looks amazing, and now I know the reason why. Obviously I understand the lower alkalinity situation when it comes to coloration, because obviously there's a smaller population of Zooxanthellae around, so more of the coral's natural colors can shine through.
Well, imagine this too, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky on the physics, okay? And Tulio and I have spoken about this many, many times. The less solute that you have in the water, the better the light penetrate. The better the light penetration into the water, the deeper it could go, the higher your par.
Again, I suppose on the same situation, because obviously I'm assuming the salt will refract the light. The actual salt content will refract the light, pushing it here, there, and everywhere, which will potentially push it, potentially it could even, bounce and wrap it and send it back towards the light, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So, I know BRS have done a test where they was testing to see how the surface of water impacted light. You know what I mean? So what happened? Did it, when the light hit the water, which way did it go? You know what I mean? Did it go straight down as it was pointed, or did it go off to the sides? And they was giving you angles and stuff like that through light. Lighting on which way it went and all that lot. So, I can imagine the same with with salt refraction as well.
Exactly. Well, you're getting it.
Interesting though, isn't it? And this is what I love about this hobby is there's always that next level, isn't there? There's always that next light bulb moment. You might have had that light bulb moment last year where you think you thought you knew exactly what you were doing and you knew what was going on, and then you look at your tank and think that's different, and then you sort of like put that correlation between that change and what you've done by mistake or on purpose, and you're like, wow, no way. And then level 2, you've just reached level 2, and you didn't mean it. And I think it's a never ending. It's like one of those computer games that have just got endless levels. You know what I mean? It's just, there's always something. Some people will progress through the game a lot faster than others. You know what I mean? Some people will get stuck on the first boss, but others will smash the first boss straight away and continue to travel through the game. That's sort of like the way I put it when it comes to this hobby. There's always something to think, but you've got to be willing to embrace it. To be like, you've got to be willing to put that time in to keep fighting that first boss over and over and over and over again until you win. you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I love the hobby for that, you know, and I'm so interested in everything that goes into what it does, you know, how it does and how this happens and how that happens and what's the cause of this and what's the cause of that. I love that, but this is the reason why I like YouTube, is because I would say, like, say for example earlier I said my alkalinity is low, but my tank looks brilliant, but I had no understanding as to why. But then Cruz comes along and says, this is the reason why, and then I go, and like you said, I've just learned something by mistake. You know what I'm saying? But if you've not got somebody who has already learned that, and I think Tristan said that a little bit earlier about, you know, people helping people and stuff with their knowledge. If you've not got somebody around you that has already learned that, then you will, unless you are, you know, very clever, you may not correlate that you have just done something. You know what I mean? So that's what I like about this hobby, and especially YouTube and the community aspect of it, is there's always somebody that's at a different level. You know what I mean? Which truly helps. You know, can you imagine trying to run a reef tank without YouTube nowadays? It'd be like, it'd still be softy heaven everywhere.
Yeah, I think actually, Cruz, we had mentioned that the other night. We were talking about how it's helped, it's hindered in some cases, but mostly it's helped because you can go out there and actually, you're not just reading a forum post and then trying to figure out what that meant. Somebody can actually show you versus that, or you can get a better explanation versus just reading what somebody has written. They can actually extrapolate on that and explain it better.
Yeah, that's it. And, you know, that's the great thing about it. You just obviously, the thing is, you got to take the rough with the smooth. Sometimes it's difficult to take the rough. I know it gets on my back a lot, you know, with the YouTube side of things. You, like I said, especially with my tank, and that's the reason why I'm not showing my tank as much anymore, because I want to enjoy my tank, and I want to enjoy it without prejudice. I want to enjoy it without fear of doing something and thinking, crap, I shouldn't have done that. Oh my God, now what am I going to get on YouTube? You know what I mean? I clearly just made a mistake, and I get that. But, you know, rather than somebody saying, oh, well, you know, you made a mistake, but at least you've learned from it and now you can move on, it'd be like, you are a beep, 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 beep. You shouldn't have a reef tank, you beep, beep, beep. You know what I mean? And that's what YouTube is. And I hate that aspect of it, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people out there that just love and just want to see people fail and fall and just not progress.
Yeah.
And that's the side of YouTube that
right,
I hate.
Dev?
Yep.
Right, Dev? All these friggin' trolls and misery loves company kind of people.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I
That's
hate
it.
that.
I do. So I'm just trying to dictate my channel now to best. I know I'm not going to be able to avoid it. You know what I mean? I'm never going to be able to avoid it, but I want to be able to get it in situations where it's, you know, it's one of those, it's YouTube. So, you know, like say for example, I've made a video and it's like a video about, I don't know, something that would potentially be a little bit controversial to some people, like talking about an alternate view to something, like the differences between traditional cycling and modern day cycling, I like to call it. You know, that's always a sticky point and will raise eyebrows in some people, you know, you traditionally. Stuff like that.
What if I have no eyebrows?
Yeah.
Tattoos, they go down well. But yeah, so, you know, it's one of those where I'm happy to take it on that side of things, but when it's down to my personal reef tank and it's just me wanting to just enjoy my personal reef tank, it's like I can't be doing with it on that side of things, because, you know, I am going to make mistakes. All of us do. None of us are perfect. I'm sure that even at Elegant Corals, you know, every now and then, you know, you'll have coral strip or you'll have something happen. Yeah, that's
we have a
it. So,
hiccup, or we get a little bit of STN, or we get a little RTN, and then we fix it. But
yeah.
yeah, sometimes you overlook certain things, and we become what I would like to call complacent. And when you get complacent, that's when you start learning again. You know what I'm saying? Things start going off. You know, we didn't check our magnesium for a while. You know, little things like that. Because we try to keep it as simple as possible. And I'm thinking that, you know, the simpler you keep it, the less things, you know, the less things you have to make a mistake or, you know, to forget. Because I know that we all have lives, you know, we all have things to do in our day jobs, you know, during the day, most of the time. And, you know, and then after that, after we get home, there's family, you know, and that's, you know, to minimize the amount of, you know, equipment and stuff like that, you know, once again, that's one of the reasons why, you know, when I told Julian and, you know, Albert, you know, hey, I think this bubbling is going to help a lot of people. You know, it'll keep their pH a lot more stable, blah, 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 so on and so forth. You know, Albert actually encouraged me to post it. He goes, why don't you go ahead and make it public? And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, like little encouragements like that, you know, from, you know, the guys that have been around for a while in the hobby. I don't know if you guys do know Albert, but, you know, he passed away a while back. But yeah, it was like, you know, that little word of encouragement in 2015. You know, he goes, go ahead and post it because I think that, you know, he told me, he goes, I think that there's validity to it. And, you know, he goes, you're going to catch a lot of flack for it. He goes, are you ready for it? And I was like, yeah, sure. And, you know, once again, an old timer, you know, schooling me and, you know, setting me up for success, basically, you know, telling me what I was going to expect from the hobby. And so I developed some nice thick skin so I wouldn't be too sensitive to it. And I mean, I think you heard it on DevStream is that I didn't get really bent out of shape like you know, the other guests were. You know, so Nick and I were pretty calm, and we're like, why are you so emotional and against it when you haven't even tried it?
Yeah.
and how much do you know about it? Oh, you don't. So their arguments just went, you know.
Don't knock it till you try it.
Exactly. So
you know what, actually?
Opposition. Yeah.
Cruz, you'll like this one. When I was over at my buddy Brad's the other day filming the update, like the 6 months update on the Focustronic lights.
Yeah.
So after watching all this, he started bubbling. He's like, man, this is so great. He's like, my sand, everything in my tank's so much cleaner and happier. He was just going off about how he loved it and how the benefits of it.
But it's anecdotal. You remember my question to them. At what point does anecdotal become an observable fact?
Yep.
You know,
but yeah, I know it made me happy to hear how much he was like, he just completely brought up on his own, just going off on how great the benefits he's been seeing from it. I'm like, I should have been recording that.
Yeah, maybe I should have called them the miracle bubbles. You know?
Miracle bubbles.
Along the same line as, you know, he's got the miracle mud. I got the miracle bubbles.
Yeah, the miracle bubbles.
Combine them both.
Team effort.
Angel bubbles. We'll call them angel bubbles. Yeah. Got miracle mud and angel bubbles. You'll be fine. Yeah, tank will look great.
Absolutely.
You know, it's. Well,
they're so fine.
It's
angel hair.
Angel farts. And the channel degrades. And there we go. So, when you know, go ahead, Dev.
To be fair, I couldn't get a word in then, and I was going to say angel farts as well.
Yeah, so. You were? Okay, there we go. So we're good.
We're all on the same page, though.
It was going there, whether you liked it or not, Craig. It was going there.
No, exactly. It's like there's two Canadians in the room. You know the humor's coming. Here it comes, folks. So, yeah. So what were you were trying to say something, Dev? Or no, Tim? Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. I was going to tell Michael and Cruz and the others. You know the whatever we want to categorize them. You know, Cruz with a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge, and Michael with a lot of experience. And you know, I can hear it in your voice, Michael. You're concerned about these people who are trolls and some of the things that they say, but I just want you to listen to me. You know, I'm old, but I don't have a lot of experience, and I appreciate it when you guys, you know, that have experience and can see you on YouTube all the time. I don't like for you to have problems in your tank, but I like for you to share it when you do. It's good when we can see, or for me, it's good. Well, he had this. Well, he's been doing this. He has such a great tank and everything. But now he's got a problem, and this is how he solved it. You know, or this is how he's going to try to solve it. You know, so that's the part. I don't. You know, we can have all kind of descriptive words for the trolls and stuff, but don't worry about those guys. Who gives a shit about them? You know, I don't care. I want. So anyway, that's where I'm at.
That's the reason why.
It's kind of like. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I have a lot.
I'm back.
Oh,
Okay, mute yourself there, Tim.
Yeah. Hang on.
There we go. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Are you there?
Yep.
Oh, no, I was breaking. You know, I was just like saying, when it comes to just ignore the trolls, it's not that easy. Honestly, it's not that easy because, you know, when, you know, it's difficult to ignore. Obviously, I've got a filter. So any certain words or certain things that I said, it just instantly goes into the filter, and I don't even watch. But some things slip through the net sometimes and stuff like that, and it's difficult to ignore it because, you know, it's an attack. You know what I mean? It's an attacking. Sometimes you feel you got to defend yourself. I know I don't have to, but it is difficult, especially when it's about your.
Oh.
And we lost him.
Yeah, and we lost him. He went through a tunnel.
Your pride and joy you've invested in, the things that you.
Oh, you're cutting up on us there, Mike. You were getting to this wonderful point. No, you're still not. Domo no regato, Mr. Roboto. Oh. There, do we got him? We got him back?
You hear me now?
There we go. Now we can hear you. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
You hear me now? Yeah, go ahead.
Hear me now? Yeah, when it says, you know, like on the ignoring the troll side, I can ignore the trolls in certain aspects. In other aspects, I can't. You know, my pride and joy, the thing that I've invested all my time in, it's the love of my life, do you know what I mean?
Yep.
When people slag it off or comment on it when they don't know the full story because they've not watched the full video, you know what I mean? They've, like, say, for example, if I've put in a provocative, there you go.
Right.
Provocative title, you know, because at the end of the day, I'm a YouTuber and I've got to use a hook and a line to get people to watch my videos. You know, we've all got to do it. You know what I mean? So sometimes I may be a bit provocative in my title. But what people will do is they will see that title and then leave a comment. What if you watch the video? You know, like, for example, you know, flipping, my tank is leaking. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They've read the title. It wasn't a leak, that was a splash. Well, did the water leave the container? Yes, it did. It's a leak then. Do you know what I mean? So,
yep.
You know, stuff like that. It's, you know, the way that people react sometimes is, it's like, oh, you know, like you can do a 15-minute long video, and it's all positive.
Oh, we lost him again.
Say, well, all that's happened, and it's been fantastic. But unfortunately, you know, we have had one fish die. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, you know what I mean? So when you're saying about we like to see your ups and downs, you will still see my ups and downs, but they will be delivered in a specific way. When it comes down to the traditional Reef update that you're used to from me, you won't get that as often. You will still get it, but you won't get it as often. But what you will do, you will. What's that, mate?
Said, why are you holding out on me?
Well, I'm doing it weekly at the moment. You can't even sit and talk about a tank weekly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I do mine like once a month.
Yeah, maybe once a month, if that. Maybe I don't know. I'm not gonna put a specific time or date or anything on. I'm not going to say every Sunday you're gonna get a specific type of video.
You know what's funny? Most of my Reef updates are if I don't have another topic I've already ready or done, then I'm like, oh, I'll do a tank update. It's kind of like my backup one.
Yeah, it's a filler, isn't it? You know, it's a bit of filler.
And you get more views than like my other videos.
Yeah. So that's it. So what you're gonna be, so what I'm gonna do is I will still be providing information on my mistakes, but what I'll be doing is I'll be making those mistakes into a specific learning video. You know what I mean? So I will make the mistake, I'll learn from it, I'll then create a video which will then teach people about said mistake. You know what I mean? I will also mention ups and downs and stuff in the Reef update, but you know, it's not going to be every week where, oh, this happened good, this happened bad, this happened good, this happened bad. It won't be none of that anymore, you know, because I just can't be asked with it anymore. And if people say, well, I only watch your channel for that, right, fine, see you later. You know what I mean? If that's all you watch for, then okay. If you don't watch for my content in general, then off you go. Seems simple as that. But I'm gonna say that I'm probably gonna put out a video, at least one video every week. But I'm not gonna say what type of video it is. I'm not gonna say every week you're gonna get a reef update, or every week you're gonna get a how-to, or something. What I'm gonna say, every week you're gonna get.
I make up mine like the day before usually. I'm like, what should I do a video on?
Yeah, pretty much, or the moment.
Like
yeah.
And that's half an hour ago.
And that's fine. That's fine with me.
Yeah, that's what it'll be. It'll be.
Tim chiming in with, I need my crack. Make a video. Yeah.
I'm going to be starting the video. Well, the live stream starts on Sunday. So the live stream starts back up on Sunday. So you're going to get a live stream from me every Sunday.
Is there going to be a wonderful opening on that?
Yeah, I think so.
There you go.
Which one? I don't know. It depends on what video I create and stuff, because obviously I'm going to create, I'm going to create something. But
exactly.
Yeah, so the live stream will start on Sunday, and the live stream will sort of like stick to the original premise of what the Friday night live stream. We'll be doing subjects, we'll be doing topics. We won't be having free-for-alls. It won't be. I won't ever be doing that type of live stream. Obviously, I'm not in a position to do brew time anymore because of my work commitment. So I would probably say, obviously never say never, but I'd probably say I won't be providing sort of like this type of live stream that Craig is doing right now. I won't be providing free-for-alls. I'll just be providing...
Or like Paul's, when he does his history of Reef Community. And Reef Community Worldwide, a.k.a. Paul, said to say, stop being a bell end. So,
tell him to sling it.
Yeah, sling it? Yeah, he hears you.
Tell him to sling it and suck a fat one.
There you go. Yeah, you've been told, Paul. It's all good. Go ahead, Cruz. You were going to say something? I got to put it at the cruise call. Cruise.
Cruise. Just cruising.
Oh, I was having a good laugh with that last night. I was saying, somebody actually. Go ahead, Dev.
All right. Should I change anything else on my sump?
I love your sump design. Is that literally coming around the back to the
Yeah. My only one hesitation with doing it this way is when I flip the tank, I'll be accessing it from this side.
See, but when you flip the tank, wouldn't the water come out?
Oh. Cruise.
Sorry.
Now, on the flip side, maybe that might be beneficial because I'll be standing on the stairs and maybe it'll be more like waist height versus
kneeling down.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm going over top of my return pump chamber and stuff will be in the back half. Probably not a big deal, but all the little things I'm trying to consider. So, current design is I'm going to do one of those little filter roller things like the Claire C I'm leaning towards at the moment.
Right.
So, it will go through there, just one big chamber, that and the skimmer can hang out in there. Over top, this area could be for probably like a smaller area for frags or whatever.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know the filter roller thing? How
Yeah.
long until this tank's ready, do you reckon?
Probably like a month, maybe. I haven't actually ordered it yet, so I'm assuming a month is once I actually tell them what I want.
Which one are you
Right,
getting?
well, don't thingy the clarity just yet. I'll speak to you privately.
All right, we'll talk after. I was talking to a few other people that have it, and they love it. So.
No, but yeah, there's something else. I can't talk about it yet because it's not released. But
All
yeah,
right. All right, so
inside knowledge.
Insider knowledge.
All right,
yeah,
so anyway,
it's not for public consumption.
That's just fine. We do that, you know.
Yeah.
Instead of filter socks, wipe
Come
it
on,
out
man.
because I'm too lazy. I don't change them anyways.
Keep our mouth shut.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't tell
We know
anyone.
how to keep secrets.
Okay. No, get distracted. I'm trying to make up my mind. I need input. Okay. So some form of filter roller because I'm tired of changing filter socks. Dimmer.
Oh, I got that started.
And then I just left that little chamber here for frags or whatever. It's a bit smaller than I have now, but whatevs. And then goes underneath, and this would be like a lengthwise one for Chato.
Yep.
And then it would flow over top, and this big long one would be for the return pump or pump Z, and I could put in some skinny media reactors, whatever, something like that along the back.
Gotcha.
Yep. Got a question, yes. Dev. And I was looking at it last night as well because I told you I'd think about it.
Yeah.
But how wide is that last chamber where the return pumps are going to go?
About 6 inches, if that's right. Yeah, 6 inches.
Okay. All the pumps that you want it to get back there, it's wide enough.
Yeah, I think the vector's just over 5. Let me just quickly Google it.
Okay.
Max spec duo. That's what you want.
I already got lovely Vectra, and it is 4.5 inches wide. So yeah, lots of room.
That Max spec duo will do the job, because then you can use it as 2 pumps instead of 1.
Yeah. I was going to say, just watch out for, the return pump vibrating and making its way towards the edge of the sump. Do you know what I'm saying? And actually hitting the glass or hitting the edges. What we've done in the past is we also had spacers around the freaking return pump.
Yeah.
To just keep it away from the glass or from the, from vibrating against the acrylic.
Yeah, good to know. Yeah. So that was my kind of current design. I don't know. My one thought, because right now I have my return pump at the end, and then the big pipe goes up and over and back up, which is probably not as efficient of just having it right at the end and going bloop up and over.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Pretty though.
Think it would be a good design?
I think it can be. I think it's wonderful design.
Would you change anything else?
Yeah, a micro bubble baffle chamber.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, one baffle.
A baffle chamber.
I mean, I could put a baffle here. It's a long ways for it to suck over, though.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Now, I mean, right now, though, I just have it attached to a little, like, a nano power head. That way it just blows the little bubbles all around the chamber and they get sucked in. So that's what I'm doing now, and that works well.
Okay, so you're doing active bubbling. Nice.
Yeah, like, right now, I have a little nano, like, on my current sump.
Nano pump.
My return pump is here. The nozzle's on the front half. And in the back corner, I got, like, just a acrylic, or however you say it, nano, and just my wooden pump beside it. Yeah, so the big bubbles go up, the little bubbles get pushed around, they just swirl around the sump until they get sucked in. That way only the tiniest ones make it to the tank, and it works well.
Okay.
And then, thank you. And then for reactors, I mean, I could pop in a couple tiny reactors if I needed to. I don't think I might avoid reactors on this one, we'll see. But I already got tiny ones, so they'll fit. So that's my thought. And then my other debation is, do I do one return pump or do I do hardcore and do 2?
I say do 2.
Do dual redundancies?
Whoop. Yeah, and then you could tune it back on the DC side of it to like half what you would actually need on each pump. Split the load. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Split the load, spread the love.
So 2 at 25% rather than 1 at 50%.
Yeah, or you could even bump it up a little bit faster.
Yeah,
around 30. Because typically on motors, on electric motors, 30 is a nice, happy happy spot for
Okay.
motors. 30 to 70% is where happiness is.
All right, sounds good.
On vibration. Yep.
All right, so then dudes do. Okay. All right,
Mm-hmm.
last question. I think I'm almost there. Okay, so my current overflow box is something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got just my 3 drains and my 1 return. So if I do the dual, I mean, I could either A, just slap in a second one on the side, or then my other debation was doing more of a coast to coast, like the
Did
whole.
you just say debation?
Debating. I don't know. Probably.
So close to. Let's just keep it clean. Let's keep
mean,
going. Moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. I would hate masturbation.
Masturbation is just not where we're going today, folks.
Is that a Canadian word?
There's a lot of debations going on here.
A lot of debations, yeah. Masturbations, as it were. There we go. Go ahead, Dev. Sorry.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is deep enough, but then I also thought about potentially making like a more of a coast to coast, like the whole wall overflows.
Yeah.
And then have your return number nozzles pop up and go through it or something. I don't know. I haven't figured that part out yet. But
huh.
I don't know. Or just stick to how I have it currently.
I actually like that coast to coast.
But yeah, the only thing is I'd probably have to drill a hole through the acrylic wall for the nozzles to poke out through. I don't know. I'd figure that out. But that was one thought.
Gotcha. Oh, just like the other one too, right?
Yeah, but it just comes out of the glass, where this would be a little bit trickier because it'd all be coming through the overflow box. Be like a whole slew of bulkheads, and then for my MP40s, they'd have just underneath, I guess. Or inside, I don't know. What you thinking? I lose you, Cruz?
Maybe. Or he's thinking. One of the two. Look out.
Yep.
The wheels are turning.
Dun, dun, dun.
I love the design, man. I was looking at a lowboy from, oh geez, I forgot the name of it. Look, I'll have to look it up again. But there's not local, but close to local company that does custom tanks here. And they're called, where is it? Concept Aquarium.
Oh yeah, that's who's building this for me.
There you go. So they do a lowboy, and I absolutely want it. I just freaking out to get this 36 by 24 by 12 so that I can set that up in my office, right?
Yeah, they're actually who built my current tank.
Oh, well, there you go. So that's 2 thumbs up in their direction, I'm guessing. So
and a huge shout out to them, because on my tank, because they're kind of warranting it, because there's like a bit of a hazy line going across the whole front of the tank.
Oh yes, yeah, right.
And it's been, a year and a half, 2 years, and they're warranting the glass. Like, huge props to them. Like, that's awesome service.
Yeah, so big shout out Canadian-wise for those guys.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's spawning this whole mini upgrade. I'm like, well, if I'm going to go through all the effort of transferring from one tank to another, I might as well sneak in a bit of an upgrade.
That being said, the wife, my lovely better half, may be convinced into a 48 by 24, not by 12, but I might go like 16, and put that on the current stand that I have, and modify the whole setup, because even she's starting to like the low boy concept, like the lower tank. And I said, well, we don't have to go that low, but 18 would almost be perfect with our stand. It would be, you'd still have a view of the fish. It still wouldn't be too far back. You couldn't see the back of the tank with the height of the stand. Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, huh, how much would the tank be? So let's not talk about that right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, low is nice. I mean, I am going taller. You mentioned 18. That's what my current tank is. And it's actually, I love it.
Yeah.
But I don't know why, but I'm sneaking in 4 more inches of height to be 22. I think because I'm going out 4 or 5 inches wider, so I'm just keeping the same proportions.
Keep the proportions the same, the look. Yeah, I don't mind my 24-inch high tank, but my wife, even on the step stool, can't get to the bottom of the tank. She's only 4'10", right? 4'9.5" if you want to get technical.
How tall are you?
Who, me? I'm 6 foot.
You're 6 foot dead.
I'm 6'1". So, yeah. So
and your missus is. It looks like you. I bet it looks like you're taking your daughter out.
Oh, you listen, you bell end.
These Canadians are big buggers, aren't they?
Yeah, we are. We're big bastards. Women are small and the men are mighty. So,
Hello.
How you doing, Tim?
I was wondering what happened.
Okay. There we go.
It's so that they can get it's so that they can get behind mooses.
You get behind the moose. That's right. We call a whole gaggle of them meese. So
you need to be tall to attack a moose.
I am so hoping I do a trip up and get one for you on camera, because I know you guys saw the sign that day, right? And I put it up, that's to scale, and you're like, you know, you can almost not believe it. And well, we know you broke your...
I've seen pictures and stuff, but I like I said, I've seen pictures of a skunk before, but when I actually saw one in real life, this little cute little fluffy ball running around the streets, I was like, oh, look, a skunk, isn't it cute? And everyone's like, don't go near the skunk.
You know, it's funny.
If you wouldn't have told me about a moose, I probably would have tried going over to stroke it like a cow.
Yeah, that would have been bad. You know what's funny, Michael? I called the Cherrybrook Zoo. That's the local zoo here, and I said, I know this sounds silly, but do you have moose? Right? And she goes, no, they're too hard to keep. She went into the explanation. She goes, why? And I said, well, I have a friend who's in the UK and would like to see one. And I was thinking, you know, I could go up with a video. And she goes, just drive down the highway. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Right? So I never got to tell you about that. So
where you are, Dev, do you like get, because I know that you go snowboarding and stuff, do you get a lot of moose where you are?
I saw some last year dirt biking up in the mountains.
Right.
So I mean, not in town, but like up in the hills, you can find them.
Right. Okay.
So here's one other debation. I debated doing a return nozzle in the bottom of the tank. However, it scares me having a hole in the bottom of the tank.
Who cares? We're talking about moose. I'm only about to go on.
Yeah. So I debated having the return pump just go straight up and like poking out in the corner somewhere in the bottom, because it'd be cool to hide the return nozzle. But on the flip side, I don't know. Kind of scares me having a hole in the bottom of the tank. This seems like a risk.
Well, the thing is that's normally, like, if you have a hole in the bottom of the tank, that's normally why people have weigh towers, isn't it? So that if, say, for example, the bulkhead does fail, then you use the weigh tower as that flow stop type thing. So you only get the water from what's in the chamber coming back. So you'd have to do something like that or be bloody brave. Yeah. I don't think I'd ever have an exposed hole with no form of protection at the bottom of the tank, because
like there's check valves, and I can put, like, you know, my pumps on a battery backup. Like, you can really minimize it, but it still seems like a risk though. It just seems like asking for it.
The main thing is if the gasket, for example, fails, you know, it'd be slow, but if you're out for the day, you know, literally, it's not going to be the case of you're going to get backside, like your pumps fail and you get back siphon down a pipe. That's at the top of the tank, and then once it's dropped below that level, that's it. It's like literally the whole entire tank on your floor. It's too that's too, like, this. Oh no.
That's a scary thought. No, that's a scary thought.
That's nightmare. That's nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Best avoided then.
That's Farm Boy Reef epic. If it were to go wrong, you know what I mean? God, I still feel for that guy having a 700-gallon tank bust out the front.
Yeah,
that had to be. Does he have a video of that?
I don't know.
Like, even the aftermath. Not that you want to show that. I mean, that's one of those. That's tears in your eye. Levels of you know, epic fail that happened to him. That's just horrible. It really is. You know, that's
something like that shows the level of YouTuber you are. Honestly, it does, and it sounds funny, but it does. Like, if your tank cracks like his does, and it's spraying out of that crack, you know what I mean? Water is spraying out of that crack.
Yeah.
There's two types of YouTuber. There's one type of YouTuber that's going to go, get some buckets, get some towels, get some whatever. And there's the other type of YouTuber, the proper YouTuber.
Grab the camera.
Go, get the camera.
Get the camera. And then grab a bucket. Just
set it up on a tripod so it's facing the tank. Now get a towel. Now get a bucket. You know what I mean? That's when you know you're a YouTuber, when the camera comes first.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I actually had that happen, but it was before my hardcore YouTuber days.
You always have the camera out of your bag, sat on the side for any eventuality. You see something like you have a look in like like with Paul, your clams spawning or your fish, your mandarins are doing the sexy dance or whatever. It's like you've got a matter of seconds to catch this before it ends. It's like, get the camera.
Why is this not charged? Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right, like, it's. I got asked about that with the stream. Why so many cameras? I say because here you can watch my tanks real time. Here you go. Right, this is what's going on. If we're talking about something, I can point it out. I don't know if that makes me a hardcore YouTuber or just lazy. One of the two. Probably both. You know, if you really think about it, right? Like, I still got to make videos too, and I have stuff coming down the pipe. DC Reefer was just talking about that too. DC, shout out. Don't forget to visit his channel.
Oh, sorry. Just to go back to Dev's tank again.
Yeah, go ahead.
19 mil glass. Have you thought about the potential restrictions with that?
What restrictions other than being freaking heavy?
Like magnets.
Oh.
You know, pumps and stuff. Whether or not they'll be powerful enough to penetrate. You know what I mean?
What do the MP40s say?
Because that's the thing as well with the MP40s. The motor's on the outside, isn't it? So if that can't reach 19 mil, it won't work.
Well, here actually, I'm 15. I bet you I'm close to that now, but it'll be even thicker with that. Because what I actually did on mine, because I have 15 mil plus acrylic that is going through right now, and I just used a little bit of hot glue around the outside of the driver, so the magnet's not necessarily holding them together, but it's just spinning it, and that's worked. But yes, that's a good point. It'll be even thicker if I go to 19 mil. I should like take it off and slap on a piece of acrylic just to make it thicker and see if it still works.
Yeah. Try that, because I just thought then, because I wasn't actually thinking about magnets when I first thought about it. I was thinking about other things like, do you know, like, I know obviously it won't really matter, but this is the first thing where, do you know, like probe holders and, you know, like, obviously everything's going to be in your sump, but that's what went through my head at first. And also, light brackets and stuff isn't going to be an issue. They'll fit. But, you know, stuff like that, just stuff that is going to need to be on either side of the glass. 19 mil, it's bloody thick. You know what I mean? And it's not a normal hobbyist thickness. So products aren't created for that thickness of, you know, glass or acrylic most of the time. So, yeah, that's just what...
15, but he's like, nope, we only got 19 right now, so that's what you're getting. I was like, all right.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, just explain that to Tom. So
if you ever get a
I just looked on Ecotech site, so it says 4.76 to 19 mil for the MP40, so that's pushing it.
A little bit. Yeah, you're on the edge anyway.
So I'll test it with I'll find a chunk of acrylic later and space mine out at that extra 1/4 inch 6 mil and then see if it still works. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah.
Or I guess if I got really fancy, I could cut a hole out of the acrylic back wall and let the driver sit just inside that hole, or the pump, to make it thinner. The pump's up in that spot for life, but it'd work.
Is this guy building the tank out of glass or
glass?
Glass or acrylic?
Glass, buddy. I won't go for those scratches. I'm like OCD about any scratches. I refuse to have any.
You there?
Yeah.
You can't hear him?
Are you going for glass? He's going
for glass. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't do acrylic.
If it's 19 mil glass, I don't know what you mean about drilling acrylic.
Oh no. Okay. I have the glass wall, but then on my current tank, I have a black panel of acrylic on top of it, so the whole wall is black with the teeth in the rear. So there's like an acrylic end cap on my tank, basically inside of it, mainly for the weir, but just because that full black wall, you don't see the overflow and all the other stuff. Know what I mean?
Is that inside? So no, would that mean that the motor would be inside the weir?
No. The motor will be outside, right? The driver, and then just the propellers on the inside. Like that's what I did right now. Like they sit just right there and there. If I did the other type of weir, it'd have to be inset a bit. It'd be a little more to the center-ish. It'd have to fit around there-ish.
The company
I've
you're
got an
working
idea. Get
You
Max
just-
gyros.
I have a gyre and two
There you
MB40. Use them both.
Dev.
Yeah?
You just send them your like your STL files or whatever your Gerber files are for this.
Yep.
And they create it.
Basically, yeah.
What kind of file format do
This
they?
is SketchUp. Just
It's
SKP.
what? Sorry, Michael's.
Yeah. Hold on for
Yeah.
Mike. There we go. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, this is just Google SketchUp. So I know they use this.
What kind of file do you export it to?
Oh no, I just send them this file. They basically just use it for the measurements and design and stuff.
So you just send them an image. You don't actually send them a file.
No, I'll send them the 3D file so they can move it.
That's what I was asking. Is
Yeah.
what kind of file you have to send it?
SKP.
Okay.
I think. What is it? Yeah, SKP.
Just needed. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually heading to lunch in a few. You guys were talking earlier about the height, because if you do custom, you might as well get custom heights.
Yep.
That's I'm my next one. I'm getting 48 inches to the top, to the rim, because then it comes right to a level where my boots clear it, but also that way I can reach all the way to the back of it, and I'll be used to that height. The current one I have is about 48 and a half, and that's a really good height.
I basically measured like from the ground to my armpit, and that was the height I.
Yeah. Well, mine is I want my boobs out of the way too. I don't want to have to like be sideways. Like women need a little more clearance than guys.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah,
Is that the finished one? Is that the finished one, Dev?
I don't know. I got two different designs here. I'm just kind of.
Yeah, they look really good.
Thank
I
you.
like the length. I like the long look of tanks.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I love
You
shallow
got-
and long look.
Yeah, the flow. Yeah, exactly. Shallow and long. I like that. Not just for looks, but in my mind, I'm just thinking about, my fish. They can swim unobstructed for longer periods of time.
Yep.
And then, my flow. It feels like I'd have longer flows, so I could have like a high power and then low. I can put all the lower flow stuff there, and then the higher flow could be right after the swoop back, or the return on the flow.
That's kind of what mine is. Like I have a big arch, and most of my SPS are here. Then there's a second structure where there's more, and then it's a little more soft stuff at this end.
No, I like them both. I love the sump design. I do think that you do need to baffle it for the bubbling. But
I don't use a baffle now for bubbling.
No, are you doing what I do? I just have mine really close in the flow, right? Like it's right there, so most of it's going up, but it's grabbing those smaller bubbles that are close, the heavier ones.
I have a tiny power head that basically accomplishes that.
Oh, there you go. Okay. And again, that's what mine are point at best. There's always a way to make it work anyway, right? So it's kind of, it's what it is, right? Like. Well, so I better do something here. Hi, everybody. Hello, Annika and Nick. Welcome into the hangout.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Just to quickly show you, like, see in the back, I got a little power head with the bubbler beside it.
There we go.
That way the big ones go up and the little ones just roll around the tank until they get sucked into the return.
I may start doing that. It's mine's working well. I got it kind of really heavy, almost that smoky look when it comes out.
Oh, see, mine I barely see it. There's tons, but they're only like micro. You got to shine like a flashlight in there or something to actually see it.
To really see it. So I think I'm gonna start doing it that way. It's working good now, but I want to improve, right? Because like I was telling Cruz, he's no longer in here. But when I started bubbling, I went from 7.7 to 7.9, and then to 8.2 pH. And that's immediately improved a ton of stuff. And then showed me where my problems were, because then the alk and the magnesium started showing themselves as being a lot lower than I thought they were. And then, that's led to me dosing and supplementing those up. So we'll see. But now that I got to move, moot point. Right? So, yeah.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, how we doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Yeah, good. A bit tired today.
Yes.
Oh, man. Working hard.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't think you ever stop, do you?
I'll stop when I'm dead.
Yeah.
That's the time to stop.
This is the current revision, Nick. So I lowered the stand by 2 inches and made the tank 4 inches higher. So it'll be
Right. Okay.
34 for the stand instead of 36, and then 4 inches higher on the tank. And a few things. So I'm debating what to do with the overflow right now. If I should try and do like a coast-to-coast type of deal with the whole side. Or
Go and put the returns through the combs.
well, that was one thought. Or do I just keep a smaller one and kind of do what I'm doing on my current one?
So I think he's looking for your opinion, Nick.
He is.
I'm contemplating.
He's contemplating. Right. He's in deep thought.
Yep.
I wish he lived closer because I know he's got a bunch of Marco rock right now, and I'm sitting there going, "Hey, it would have been easier on my move." So, wife wants me to redo my rockscape when I move, Nick. So.
Oh, that's cool. I love rockscaping.
Yeah.
Deb, stop wiggling it around. You can't see what I'm dealing with. Will I put it on which one do you prefer?
I haven't decided yet.
I'm going to put you on present there, Dev.
Yeah.
Makes it easier, so I'm not going to keep you talking. So there we go.
There you go. Now you can see them both.
See, that's the only thing, because if you have a full coast-to-coast, then your returns
I gotta go
more of an issue, right?
Exactly. Now,
what are you really gaining?
Yeah, am I gaining much by doing the full coast-to-coast versus, half of the back versus the full back?
You're gaining, not really, because you could say you're gaining more on surface skin, but you're not really, because you can have your returns pushing back anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You only need twin stamp, what we call a twin stamp part. I think you guys call it Herbie. So you have 2 drains, 1 main and 1 emergency, and then 1 return. But you've got your returns coming the other way anyway. So.
I do 3. So I have a full siphon, an open siphon, and then an emergency. But I like.
What's an open siphon?
So you have, it's just a trickle basically. So I have my full drain with a gate valve on it, and I adjust it until it just trickles into the second drain. That way, if the water goes up or anything, then the second drain can handle it, and I have like a little air hole or whatever. If that gets plugged, it turns into a full siphon drain quickly. Then I have an extra one that's just always dry as like an extra. I
never understood that, because we just use the emergency overflow as your trickle. Because
it's just
if it goes up, it's gonna drain out of there anyway.
It will.
Yeah,
but it's just more drilling and it's like more drilling and more pipe work for no reason.
I do. Yeah. Maybe I should ask Dev this, because I've always wondered, what is the purpose of the bean animal, the 3 drain?
It's absolutely silent, and you got like dual emergencies.
Okay, because my Herbie, my 2 drain, is absolutely dead silent.
Yeah. So basically, if something plugged on this one would be able to handle it. If something else happened there, then this one could handle it.
So it's just a backup. It's like a backup to the backup.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's dead quiet. I mean, that's for me it's silent.
Ours are quiet anyway without that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I get.
We don't leave it open on the top. I think you guys leave it open on the top. We put 2 45-degree angles, so we can actually control the height of the water without adjusting the bore valve or the pump.
Yeah, so I got
just twist it
on mine.
Sorry, 290s, yeah.
It's a U shape, and I have a gate valve that I use to just control how much it lets through.
Okay. I'd do the other one, Dev.
This one?
With the
the simple way.
It's gonna be neater.
Okay.
When you look at it, why don't you use chamfer the? Oh no, you don't need to, because it's on the back box, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
do it that way.
Kind of grind it, chamfer it a bit, but.
No, I thought it was internal, but it's not. It's external anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I do it that way. It's going to look much nicer.
Okay, no, that's fine. And then, would you do single return pump or dual?
I'd do 2.
You?
Yeah. Because you can. It's better. I think it's better if you do the 2.
X redundancy. Okay, no, that's all good. Okay, now here's my sump idea. Current revision. So I was thinking bigger chamber, ditch the filter socks, have some form of a filter roller.
Oh, no, really?
Why not?
Yeah. You can. I don't see the point in them, to be honest, myself. I think they're a bit gimmicky.
I'm getting tired of
Yeah, but then don't use them. You don't have to use them. Paul's not using his.
Well, there's no filter.
If you balance your system, you don't need it.
But here's the thing.
You got refugium though, right?
Right here.
Yeah, so that's you're filtering out your refugium food.
But if I wanted to be hardcore, I mean, I could take out the filter stuff, not use socks, make this a giant refugium, then put the skimmer here, providing I make it big enough.
Yeah, you know about 20. I always say this now. Remember back in the day. But if you speak to Cruz, like Cruz will back me up on this. 20 odd years ago, we went through a trend of filtering water, and that's why the roller mats have come out. The roller mats originally were distributed by a company in the UK called D&D, and they loved them because David Saxby is an old school reefer. So about 20 odd years ago, we was all about filtering the water. And then what happened was the coral started stripping and dying because we weren't leaving anything in the water. So for me now, it's about balance. It's like I've said before, we're doing things to counteract other things that we're doing that we don't need to do. So like the other days, last week, I was talking about the rock work, you know, really thinning out your rock structures so that you don't get entrapment. And the thing is with the roller mats and the what do they call them now? The clear roll. I don't know what they're called. Like all the new stuff that's coming out. All that is to counteract the amount of waste that's being built up in the system. So the simple way to do that is do a really thought out rock structure where you're not using masses of rock, so you don't get that entrapment in the first place.
I'll probably use my current
feed
rock
stupidly. Yeah, and then just don't feed stupidly. So then you don't have to undo what you're doing. But if you like the look of, you know, lots of rock and you want to feed heavily, for whatever reason, then yeah, you can put it in. You'll need it.
The exact same scape, right? So it's just going to be plunk this in. It's just going to be more open around it at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah. Then it at the end of the day, the tool's in the toolbox. So if your system needs it because of what you've done to create the need, then yeah, you know, use them. But I just think
crystal clear water.
Why create the need?
Okay, so my goal partially, when this is a peninsula and it's going to be on top of the stairs, it's going to be a pain to clean the side that's on the stairs.
Right.
My theory is using a filter roll or something that removes all those particulates out of the water, physically removes it out rather than just holding it in the water like a filter stock something else. It's going to mean less nutrients, less stuff to decompose, and less stuff to feed algae to make me have to clean the glass. At the end of the day, my goal is to not have to clean the glass as much because I know it's going to be a pain overhanging the stairs.
Yeah, but your nutrient control isn't just necessarily. Again, your nutrient control is down to entrapment and overfeeding, and then things like bacterial balance and zooplankton, macrofauna. That's all.
I got another really cool project on that one. Anyway, we'll go back to that.
But that's the thing. If you boost those levels on everything else, then you'll find that you won't get the algae issues in the first place because you're efficiently processing the nutrients.
All right. So so here's a thought. I'm probably gonna throw one on, probably one that hangs on the edge, so I can remove it if I want to. It's not a big deal. And now I'm thinking, as long as I make this second chamber big enough for the skimmer, then I could always turn the first one to a giant fuge if I wanted to at some point. So that gives me those options. So I just got to make sure that fits in there, which I believe it already does. Click. Why can't I click on it?
So where your pipework's coming at the back, why don't you use that as your fuge?
My what, sorry? The back chamber?
You got your gutter at the back. Why don't you just stick your algae in there? You got a whole load of wasted space.
This one?
Yeah, and then you feed in the cheetah and everything directly.
Well, I was going to use that for my return pump chamber. Originally, actually, I was originally going to do one giant refugium, like a big strip along the whole back.
That's a big return, though. Like for your auto top-up.
Yeah. But, well, because my original thought, right now, everything drains here and the returns here. So I have a pump at this end. It pumps all the way up, over, and then back up and into the tank. So I'm like, if I just put my pumps at this end of it, just has to go up and over, it's a lot more efficient.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was my main thought about doing it that way.
I can't believe you did it the other way in the first place.
Well. So, I don't know. That was my thought, right? It'd make the pumps more efficient. If I put 2 pumps in, no problem. I got all this length. I can just pop them in side by side. And bring it over and up. So, I don't know. unless you got suggestions, I keep changing it. I've changed it like 80 times, but this is the current.
All right. Send me the model. Email me the model, and I can open it up on my sketch. I'll have a look at it later when I'm at work.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds like a plan. Oh, I can't wait to see this, Dev. I bet you can't wait to see this.
I know. I just got to make up my mind so that I can actually
finish it. Get it done.
Let me just take a call, and then I'm gonna head to work. So I'll jump into my
car. Email on Facebook, okay?
Yeah.
I'll send you that file.
So yeah, it's definitely it's going to be interesting. And same with Tristan's. I can't wait to see yours, Tristan. You said start of May things are going to start happening?
Starting tomorrow. So
starting tomorrow. There we go.
The stand arrives tomorrow. Via freight. So I'll film that, probably edit that in a couple of hours, get that up. And then the sump will arrive like next week sometime. But I still have 4 Sergeant Major damsels, a lawnmower blenny, and a pilot fish sitting in a buddy's tank in his holding quarantine tank in Florida from what I caught when I was collecting fish down there for the new tank. Now the pilot fish and the Sergeant Major damsels are probably not going to go to the big reef. I'll probably end up putting them in my frag tank or something like that. Just something fun for them to be in. But I just thought it was so freaking cool to actually collect my own fish. And you would think that you had to go far out, but oh man, like you didn't have to go far out whatsoever.
Right.
Just needs to go near a jetty, and they were right there. Just had to scoop them up with a net. But let me tell you something. Catching fish underwater with a net, dude, I don't care how much you guys go to the gym. That is a freaking workout.
I bet you.
Right? I was panting so hard, and I'm a big dude, but I'm pretty nimble in the water. I grew up around water my whole life, so I can hold my breath a pretty long time. But let me tell you, these fish, oh man, they are some crafty bastards.
Yep.
Run for your money.
Yeah, it's like that blue tang, the hippo tang that's in my 120. He's going somewhere else when I do my move because he killed a shrimp. I have it on video. Craziest thing you've ever seen. Literally had to ball a guy for just being a dumbass on my Facebook group. And it's like, I don't think the 4-foot versus 6-foot rule applies here. I just had a tang eat a shrimp. I don't think he had a mental breakdown because he was in a smaller tank kind of thing. That's what he's doing. And now he's eyeballing the blood shrimp that's in the tank. And my wife's, my wife's really good at honey. And I run in and it's nothing good. But, at least this time she got it on film. And I looked at her and, well, what do you want me to do? Take him out and smack him around? And she just kind of looked at me, right? I said, what do you want to do? Right? And she's like, oh, I said, it's easier for me to get the shrimp out, although he's making a game of it. And I'm going to put him in my 20 to just protect him for now. And again, he's got to be in an opportunistic spot for me to grab him with the net because he's pretty good at getting away too. But that being said, somebody asked me, what do I do in this case? And I said, there's 1,000 decisions you got to make with your tank sometimes. That's take out the wimp or take out the aggressor. There's how do you catch him? Do you tear your reef down to get him? How much stress do you want to put on the rest of the tank? I caught my powder brown. I got so lucky. I took the veggie clip you see in the little picture there, moved it up the top. He came up and boom, and I caught him right then and there. No problem. This guy, he's wily and he's crafty. So I understand what you mean about getting away because he was in the net and he got out of the net and I just gave up trying to catch him because I don't want to stress him out. So I'm like, nope, I'm done. Catch him with a fish trap or don't bother. Or now I got the easy option. I'm moving. I'll be catching him anyway. So.
Yeah, it's funny enough. Like, when I start moving stuff out of my old reef, I'm going to try my hand one more time at quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm currently ick management right now, meaning that my fish will sometimes show signs of ick and then go for 2 months without any signs of ick. I have no idea what triggers it. I don't know if it's building up to a critical level inside of that tank or whatever. But I'm in ick management, and they all seem healthy. They're all eating good. Nobody's dying or nothing like that. So for the most part, I'm in ick management. But I figure moving tanks, I'll be able to set up the new tank, move corals over. But before I put the old fish in there, I might put them through the ringer, so to speak. And I'm thinking about a couple
treat
of
them
different.
again, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking? And let the tank
Yeah.
fallow while you're setting it up for 3 months with just the coral, and let everything kind of peter out. Is that what you're thinking? Yeah.
Exactly.
And and that's just it. You're doing what I recommend to most people that have a large tank, especially. Support the fish. Keep an eye on them, keep them healthy, keep them well fed, and they'll fight it off, right? Unless it goes critical, which is what your thought was, and that's exactly it. It's like in a 20-gallon tank, you get ick, it's serious, because it's a small amount of space, it's a small amount of flow, so there's a good chance, and they're everywhere, and then the fish are covered, and now you're fighting a whole different battle. You've got what, 180?
Yeah, 180.
So you got a little more water volume to deal with, right? So it's still enclosed. Doesn't matter how big our tanks are; they're drop in the ocean, so to speak, right? So it's not like in the wild where if a fish gets sick, he gets one parasite, it drops off, he never sees it again. In our tanks, it drops off, and there's a good chance that out of the 200 parasites that come out of that cyst, there's a good chance he's going to get hit again, right? But how long? And how many of those parasites are successful at repopulating themselves? That's the issue, right? And I think you're right. If you do that, you're already there. Do it up. Do it up front.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
because the way I see it is that they're going to be in an environment that they're familiar with.
Yep.
It'll have a lot less rock, if any rock, and if I wanted to run something that isn't the reef safe, that tank is going to be a fish only tank anyway afterwards. I'm not going to run copper, but I was thinking some more of like the other compounds that they have available that's a little lighter on it. I mean, someone has told me, oh, use copper safe because it's the best. It's way better than cupramine, blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, I don't want to run that. I was thinking about using some of the stuff from the fish farm website. They have something called Crypto Pro,
right?
Which is not praziquantel. It's not kanamycin either.
Is it still copper? Is it chelated or just straight copper?
No, it's not copper at all. It's a different compound.
Well, the only thing that kills ick is copper. Everything else, there's nothing to quantify that it actually kills the parasite in its. Oh, hold on, damn it! If I'm going to talk about it, I might as well be right about it. Give me a second.
I think it's quinine, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, the malaria stuff, quinine.
Right,
yeah, okay, yeah, and that is apparently shown to work.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody's specifically proven it, but it is said to work. So yeah, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. So I was going to use quinine because it's safe for a host of different things, and I don't have any scaleless fish that I have to worry about. It's just tangs and anthias.
Right.
And,
if you're going super light on the rock, just make sure you have enough caves and hiding spot for your fish, right? Or else they're gonna be scrapping over the big caves.
Yeah.
Oh, I plan to replace all that with some 3-inch and 4-inch pieces of PVC. Build a couple of structures in there with lots of holes that they can go play in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not gonna pull out all the rock and leave these guys just swimming around the tank just looking for problems,
All right, just throwing that out there because if there's not enough holes and stuff, they usually scrap over it, and that's
exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid the whole scrapping situation. I know the wrasses will always hide in the sand or whatever, but for the tangs and stuff, I kind of want them to feel a little bit happy,
a little more secure. Yeah, a little less.
They're always scrapping over the biggest cave.
Yeah, exactly. So the stage that you can kill ick in is the Theront stage, right? So that's it when it's in its free swimming and it's looking. In the Protomont, which is when it falls off the fish, you can't kill it. It's basically at that point, and it settles, right? So it's already starting to insist as it comes out of the fish, and when it hits the bottom, which or the substrate or the crab shell or the base of a frag plug, wherever it gets to. That's the Tomont stage, right? So that's when it encapsulates, and right now, studies say that it's somewhere between 3 days for some, and there's ones that now they're saying up to 90 days. Right now, most of the studies were done when they said it was 28 days, and that's already been proven wrong. Right, because there are, there's people that get ick. I've seen that. My tank was empty 3 months. I have shown no signs of ick since, but when I did 2 months, I absolutely had ick again. So.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, come on.
No, completely unrelated.
Oh, go. No, let's go unrelated. I hate talking about ick, man. I know I get drawn into it all the time, but yeah.
Just the YouTube live stream thing, which for the time zone, it says live in 4 hours, but it should be 5 hours.
For you?
11, 12, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 5 hours.
It goes by Greenwich Mean Time.
That's what it... Yeah, so -7 right now. Because I know it's -8, but with the time zone, whatever.
Yep.
Is it supposed to be -7 or -8?
I think it's -7. Because when I do it, it's negative... Instead of 4, it's -3.
Okay. Because it says live in 4 hours. Then it says at 1500, which is right, because that's 3 p.m. But the 4 hours, they're contradicting themselves.
Oh, as long as it says that's when you're going live, that's the one I go by. Right?
Whatever.
So, yeah. No, it's okay, man. So how's my chat doing? I know we still got 13 people hanging out. That's all good. Any questions? Any... Just listening to us quibble, you're waiting for it to get silly. We don't have Michael Aaron in here, so that doesn't happen quite as often.
I was actually going to mention one more thing about the big tanks that we talked about at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I found this to be the most interesting thing possible. It's the small things that you don't think about that adds up to the most cost.
Yeah.
So when I was doing my Herbie and, I wanted to use good valves and good ball valves and stuff like that, I was running across ball valves that I needed that were like $50 for like the gate valves and stuff like that in Schedule 80 and Schedule 40. And I had no idea that, if I needed 4 of these things, it's going to be $100 and something for just one plumbing component.
Yep.
People look at the pipes. The pipes are like $8 from Home Depot. You can get a 5-foot, 8-foot piece or whatever. But the gate valves and all that crap is stupid expensive, and people don't take that into consideration when they realize, well, how much is plumbing this thing gonna cost me? And it's like, well, there goes another $250 in just valves and pipe.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I did my 20, it was $100 in plumbing on a 20. So
that's a 20 gallon. So yeah. I can't even begin to fathom what it's going to cost me for $350.
Enough to make you cry, make things pucker. Yeah.
I mean, the good thing is that at least I'll be able to use my manifold again, because that's a completely separate system. And that's 1 inch, so that's already set up. I'll be able to use everything for that again.
Nice.
And I was smart. I didn't glue it. I used all fittings that you could screw in and screw out. So from that, I'll be able to just transfer the manifold over as is. But for my drain and stuff like that, depending on the size of the drain that comes in a Synergy, I could be looking at least like $150 in gate valves, for adjustments and all that cool crap.
Yep, that's easy enough to do too, especially the size you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
You can, if you're gonna go that big, I always kind of recommend to people that the issue there is that make sure you're buying a quality component. Then on a 20, a gate valve, Tim picked me up one down in El Paso and has it on the way to me, and that was cheaper, and I'm not expecting it to be oh my god, best gate valve ever, but it will work well enough on a 20 system because I'm not running the kind of pressures and flow that I've got to worry about it being incremental to the nth degree. But when you get onto the big ones, that little 1/8 of an inch turn can make a real huge difference on the amount of, the level in your tank. You know what I'm saying? That's why ball valves suck. Nick gave me the greatest recommendation ever. Use a little tack hammer to make your adjustments, because it takes so much strength for us to move it that it's always that 1/16 of an inch, and then you go back and it's still a 1/16 of an inch, and you're never quite hitting in the middle where you want that.
You just spend the extra $20 and buy a gate valve.
Buy a gate valve, because then you just you're done. You know what I mean? So much easier.
Like freaking $30 instead of 10. But yeah, you can do fine adjustments, and it doesn't seize up over time like a ball valve will. I don't know.
Yeah, because the water doesn't get around it.
Yep.
Right? It doesn't do it doesn't operate the same way. I got someone at the door. All right, guys, keep talking for a sec. I'll be right back.
All right, I gotta jump for a meeting, but I'll talk to you guys in a little bit.
Sounds good. I'll be right back, folks.
Gate valve.
Who else is still there?
I'm here.
What's up, Pete?
I'm hanging in there. Just starting to feel like, a month ago when nothing was scheduled to arrive, I felt like I had all the time in the world. Now that things are starting to arrive, I'm like, holy crap, I'm in crunch time right now. It would have been worse if I had to break down my old tank to move it over, which was the initial plan. Was I was going to be breaking down my old tank, putting it into various different holding tanks that I had at my disposal.
Right.
But now that I don't have to break it down right away, it's been a huge load off. But at Spirit, I don't want to start procrastinating on the things that I have to do.
Right.
That's
the big one. Yeah, I know what's coming for me. So it's the same idea. I got to get things prepped ahead of time so that the day of the move, I'm not doing what I did last time. And now it's like, oh, crap, I didn't even think about that. So, I'm literally going to show the planning stage, the day of the move, and then setting it back up and what I actually went through. Because I've seen move ones before, but they always kind of like, yeah, we're doing this, and they show you nothing else, and then they show you it set back up. So the move is done. It's like, well, what did you do? How did you do it? The only one that came close was Lapazzo TV, I think he was called. And he's a guy here in Canada, and man, he took a lot of liberties with that move. I wouldn't have done it that way, but, and he never showed the end result after a few weeks. How'd the tank do? Because it gets cold here in the wintertime, and it's always recommended if you have a tank to move in the summer if you can. But I moved in the winter and I had no issues. Right, everything was done very quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The hardest move I ever did was from Jersey down here to North Carolina, and I started to plan my move to move my tank, and what I was actually going to do was move down here and set up a bunch of frag tanks, and then in a crazy dash, I was gonna go up to Jersey, break down my tank, in a day, 150 gallon full blown reef, huge SPS colonies, break it down, pack everything into as many buckets and containers as I can, jump in my car and do the 8-hour drive to North Carolina, throw everything into those frag tanks that I had just already set up. And then it would have been easy to move my tank. But two things I ran into with that. Number one, I could not find a moving company that would give me a truck for just my stuff, unless I rented one myself.
Yep.
That were willing to actually move a big glass tank.
Yep.
They just are not going to do it.
Nope.
And no matter how much I said, is there insurance that I could buy that would make you move it? And they said, nope, we're not going to move that tank whatsoever. We're not going to lift it. We're not going to carry it out of your house. Nothing at all. So I said, wow, all right. So if I have to do this myself, that means I have to drive down my tank and stand and everything by myself. And that was not an option for me because I'm by myself.
Yeah, exactly.
When I moved down here, I was here for 6 months by myself. So I said, you know what? I cried, grown ass man. I cried. I sat down. I drank heavily for like a day.
Yeah.
And then I made the post, said fire sale, and I started selling all my stuff, everything, tank, stand, sump, skimmer, everything. I sold off the entire reef. The final nail in the head when I knew it was done was when 3 LFSs that I frequent in the area, good friends of mine, they all showed up and agreed between the 3 of them to buy my entire stock, cut me checks right there on the spot, and had their guys come in and break down the tank for me. When it was gone, I felt a load off because I had a bunch of money in my hand.
Yep.
But at the same time, everything was gone.
It was gone. Yeah, exactly. You're sitting here with a clean slate, even though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a fellow reefer actually ended up buying my tank and stand at a great price. But you know, they bought it from me. Well, actually, they didn't even buy it from me. They took it from me and sold it for me. Took a cut of the sale,
Yep.
and I was able to move the tank that way. But you know, I think everything happens for a reason because that money, which was just under 40 grand that I got from the sale of everything,
Yep.
um, that was pretty much what I used for my down payment on the house.
Yep. So there was a benefit that came out of it, right? So.
There was an absolute benefit, and you know, the leftover, I was able to get my tank, which was probably one of the first pieces of furniture that came into the new tank containment system, aka house. Um, but yeah, that was probably one of the first things that came in there, and that's the tank that I have right now. And it took me a while to get a lot of stuff, but I was fortunate enough to have been able to frag a lot of my stuff off and give them to good friends up there.
Yep.
And they've been growing out for almost a year, and so when I go back up there over this summer, I'll be able to pick up those frags, and you know, I'm gonna take frags of their frags of what I gave them. I'm
Yep.
gonna let them keep the colonies, and I'll take frags of the frags. But it's nice. I'll go up there and basically get 100 frags for nothing.
Yeah, and there you go, and you know, build yourself back up, right?
Right, exactly.
So, no, nothing wrong with that. So, I actually do have to. I'm going to cut this off at this point today. It's almost been 3.5, which is great. I fantastically love it. Don't forget, if you can, go ahead and donate to the stream. I always appreciate it. And I will be back later, probably after Reef Dudes tonight, because I'll let him run his thing and I'll jump into his or listen in on his. Does he have a topic up? Does anybody know? Hold on a sec. I'll see if I can find it right quick. Let us see here. YouTube. Reef Dudes. There he is. Let's see what he's got for a topic, because I know he's got something. Focustronic 1 now. So he's got that video up. Oh, does he have an upcoming? Oh, he doesn't have his upcoming up yet. So I'm not sure what his topic is. I'm sure it'll be cool. It usually is with him. And have a look at that tonight, and then we'll take it from there. All right.
Sounds good. I'll see you guys tonight.
Absolutely. Same with that. Jeeves, thanks for coming. Tim, always thanks for coming.
Later,
both of yous. And I will see you guys all a little later. All right. And you guys, what's your topic tonight, or Brief Dudes? Dev? Jeez. There we go. Do you have one yet? Because I know you're like me. It's always last second. Give them 30 seconds here to answer. Dealing with hobby burnout. That's a good top. I'll be there. I will so be there. All right.
Oh,
so, yeah. So that's going to be it. Reef Dudes is going to be doing hobby burnout as his topic tonight, and he should be starting in about, give or take, 4.5 hours, I think, there, Dev. You're starting at 3 o'clock your time. There you go. So we'll be there, folks. Let's do it. And thanks for coming to mine. Later, taters.
Later.